Welcome back. My name is Kit.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things, Streaming Star Wars. We're a TV and film podcast, as you know, like you do. And we've been barreling through all of the Skywalker saga and soon to be beyond, revisiting them with two staunch Star Wars supporters. And then me, a noob, I think you could say.
Yeah.
Watched them all many times throughout my life, but never felt very invested in the franchise. And so
you're the porg of this podcast. Yeah.
I'm that adorable.
You're adorable.
Yeah.
And God, I just want to eat you up.
What's the name of the walrus whose titties that Luke Skywalker sucks? Because that's more like what I am, I think.
It's really the look that it gives Ray, like, yeah, I'm enjoying
Why does
this.
it make eye contact as Luke is sucking it? That is such a choice.
To be fair, Luke doesn't go lips to tit.
No. He squirts with a bottle.
He milks it first.
That's true.
So he's got some couth.
But the fact that the eye contact is what makes it so abhorrent.
The furious drinking, too.
Yeah.
So the animal is called a female thalasiren.
Thalasiren. I am the Thalasiren.
I'm just saying,
of the
like,
podcast.
these must be the sirens of legend. Because I mean, that if that's not the peak of
that is literally what I look like watching movies.
Men, what's keeping you from looking like this?
That is just a photo of me watching The Last Jedi last night. I need a
And then
Luke
Mark Hamill
Skywalker.
came into your living room and he's like, hold on, I need something.
I need somebody to milk me.
Daddy's thirsty.
That's right. This is a famously controversial installment in the Star Wars franchise. I've been excited to both revisit it and talk about it with you guys. I've talked about it with Steve before, but never in depth, and never with you, Phil. So I'm sure you guys recall in 2017, this was a whole thing. So I'm excited to dive into it.
We actually did an episode about this in 2017 when it first came out.
Did we?
You, Andy, and I, yeah.
Well, so there's proof that I've loved it from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, yeah, you were, I'm pretty sure when this came out, you and Andy were like incredibly positive on it.
I do recall that.
And I was kind of like, what's going on? I was kind of shell shocked.
You were still processing your emotions.
I was, my emotions were still being processed. You're right.
Spoiler alert for my thoughts on this, but I have one Star Wars poster, because my room is decked out with like 50 movie posters, and it is the Last Jedi poster. So there's that. But we'll get into it very soon. As you guys know, if you've been listening to this series the whole time, we got some fun things. We do some Star Wars Mad Libs, our overall thoughts and our history with this film, and then a play-by-play, scene-by-scene recap, followed by our nomination for the celebratory medal, what we can award this movie that we could give to no other movie in the franchise, what this movie does the best. And then we'll rank the movies as a team, as a podcast. We have to agree on where Star Wars The Last Jedi fits into the franchise. So that's what's fun. We have to agree. And honestly, I keep saying that. It's never been a huge deal.
No.
Maybe once or twice we could have fought, and then, one of us just kind of gives up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think the closest we ever got was maybe the placement of Revenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Revenge of the Sith was the
when I wanted to put it above A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Everyone in the Discord thought that I gave up too quickly. There's two reasons for that. Well, three really. We record for many hours, and Steve cuts this episode down. So I was exhausted, and knowing that we had like 3 other episodes to record.
Yeah.
Steve and I are very good friends, and it's like, okay, I give up is a tendency of mine. But also, like, I feel a little out of my element, Donnie, about this whole thing. I'm never too confident on my Star Wars opinions, because there's a part of me that knows the fact that I'm not precious to any of this stuff is like, I'm cognizant of that. That's a huge factor, I wouldn't expect my wife to feel very strongly about like Batman. You know what I mean? Like she's gonna give up pretty quick. She doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
she wouldn't argue with a guy covered in Batman tats. her husband.
She should.
She should.
She should argue why you got those. No, I'm kidding.
That's not.
This is like Batman sucks.
You're not wrong.
I love your tattoos, buddy.
Oh, thanks.
I do. I actually think they're really cool.
Well, shirtless episode on the YouTube dropping soon. We just discussed it, so you can spot those. Go to patreon.com/streaming things. You can subscribe at a variety of tiers to support the show. I'm not saying you'll get that benefit. I'm not saying you're not. So
It's a possibility.
We'll leave that hanging. It was just an idea Phil had, and I'm not against it.
To be clear,
No, that was
I'm not
your
going to be
idea.
on this show when they do
You're
that.
just going
That's
to
all
watch
that.
it.
You just
creeper.
you just wanted it. You're like, hey,
I just want it from me.
yeah.
We just send it to you. That makes it so much weirder.
It's like the guy who
The video is privated and has one view.
who paid like the Wu-Tang Clan to make him like one specific album.
That
what was
that troll guy that went to prison.
The guy who
He didn't pay them for that. They made it and he bought it to be a dick.
Oh, that's right.
and what? So he's like the only one that's ever heard it. But he's in prison, so we can all laugh.
Yeah, he sucks.
LOL.
Was it Michael? Doesn't matter. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was when Twitter was Twitter. You know.
Back in the good old days.
When men were men, Twitter was Twitter.
All right, let's get into it, guys. I'm excited for this. Let's start with the Mad Lib, and then we can just delve into this completely uncontroversial film.
It's time for this week's edition of the Mad Libs. Do you guys remember how it works? I'm going to ask you two jabronis
Grammar.
a series of questions, or not questions, but I'm going to look for some
Prompts.
words for you to give me. Yeah, some prompts. And that will allow me to put the pen to the paper to this Mad Lib. And at the end of the episode, we will reveal what story you two have created.
What's this Mad Lib called?
I'm not going to tell you. That would give you hints, and I don't want to give you any hints. Who wants to go first this time?
Phil.
Okay,
Phil, give me a verb.
bataranging.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
going with a theme for this one, Kit.
Rang-ing. Okay. Kit, give me an adjective.
Dark.
Like where you're going with this.
Adjective.
Cowled. Because he wears a cowl.
I know I got it.
Yeah.
Steve's dumb. I had to laugh.
Adverb.
Jokingly.
Verb.
Riddled.
Riddle.
Yes.
Color.
Black.
Celebrity.
Harley Quinn.
The Harley Quinn.
The.
As I live and breathe. Verb.
Abandon.
Oh, because he's an orphan? Adverb.
Help, Chris. I'm blanking hard.
Gothamly.
Gothamly. Stealthily.
Stealthily.
Okay. That's a great word. I think it might be the best word you've come up with this whole time.
I agree.
My personal favorite.
Yeah.
Kit, give me a plural noun.
Thugs.
With a Z or with an S?
Z.
Okay.
Yeah, it's extreme, Steve.
Okay.
As
I just wanted to double check.
As in harmony.
Give me a verb.
Grappling hooked. As a verb.
Yeah, you can only. Steve is disgusted.
Look, we can't every time do it about dicks and boobies and stuff. So we have to find something else to do
The
once.
history of the show would suggest you're wrong, but go off.
There is 7 years of precedence, all right? We can't throw it out the window now.
I'm just trying to inject a little bit of temporary flavor in a different way.
You are the Last Jedi to Streaming
Yeah.
Things Mad Libs.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be pissed.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
We'll go back to dicks and boobies next time.
Yeah. Somehow Dicks and Movies return.
Yeah.
The balls speak.
Cloning technology. Adjective.
Adjective. Rich.
Noun.
Batmobile.
Adjective.
Handsome. Obviously, I'm talking about Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Of course. Mr. Freeze fucks.
Chill out.
Last but not least, I need an adjective.
Bat-like.
Pat. Like. All right, well, stay tuned to the end of the episode to listen to this somehow Batman-themed Star Wars Mad Libs. How did that story end up? Tune in to the end of the episode to find out.
Probably not great.
If we're being honest.
All right, guys, let's get into it. This is the 8th film that we've talked about together. We're almost done with the Skywalker saga, and that leaves us with a Star Wars story.
Rogue One.
Rouge One.
Rouge One. That's right. The prequel to Moulin Rouge, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I do know a lot about movies. I know it stars Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
So it's, it's probably going to work out.
It does, yeah.
Hope you enjoyed our Fallout coverage. We missed Jimmy already, but at least we've got...
Who the fuck is Jimmy?
Exactly. We've got Phil to fill the Jimmy-sized hole.
Yeah. Love to fill the Jimmy size hole.
Thank you for doing that, Phil. Taking one for the team there.
Is it in yet?
But let's get into it. I'm really excited to hear your guys' first history with the film. That'll be fascinating, as well as what it was like to watch The Last Jedi this time. Phil, summarize your thoughts. What's going on in that noggin?
I loved it. When I saw it the first time with Steve, of course, I remember being way more jazzed about this movie than I was The Force Awakens because I was paying more attention during that time. And since I had enjoyed The Force Awakens the first time, I was like, yay, more of this. Like, I can't wait to see the continuation of the Skywalker saga. Specifically, like The Force Awakens ended with Rey presenting the lightsaber to Luke. So I was like, I can't wait to see Luke. Like, this is a big deal. And I remember I was at a photo shoot that night, and Steve and I were planning to go see it together at the theater that night. And it was everything I could do to just like get through the shoot and move on because I couldn't wait to go see it. So and then we watched it together and had a good time.
And then we made out.
Yeah,
held hands.
Yeah,
just like bros. Nothing weird. Steve, what about you?
Oh, so you can actually my history with this movie is pretty interesting in terms of like how I reacted to it. Like Phil said, we saw it together, had a great time as always. But I remember after seeing this movie for the first time, being a little not sure what I felt about it. You know, there was a lot of things. I think overall I enjoyed it, but there were a lot of things that happened in this movie because it does take Star Wars in a completely different direction. It's doing completely brand new things. And at the time, I remember kind of struggling with some things. And there are issues I still have with this movie, and I'll voice them when we get there. But those things are mostly trivial when you look back and view the movie through the overall lens of what it is. I think the movie does some really brave things. I think it's the best movie best Star Wars movie when it comes to visual storytelling. I think this is the most gorgeous Star Wars movie, like in terms of like shot composition. It's fucking beautiful. And I as a huge Luke Skywalker fan, this is the main thing that I struggled with when I first saw the movie. Luke Skywalker was like my Superman growing up, right? Like he was the dude. Like I remember when I was younger, people would be like, "Oh man, Harrison Ford's so cool," and I'd be the little kid in the corner like, "No, Luke Skywalker's cool. he didn't blow, Han Solo didn't blow up the Death Star. He didn't bring Darth Vader back from the dark side." So like that was a dude that I looked up to, and then you read all the expanded universe novels and comic books, and like Luke starting the new Jedi Order and all that stuff that evolved from that canon that no longer exists. So this movie takes a very, very different approach to what and who Luke Skywalker is compared to that approach. It's very much somebody who failed and becomes a recluse and is like a sort of like a never meet your heroes type of situation. And so the first time I saw it, I imagine I was sort of like Rey, where it's like, oh my gosh, Luke Skywalker, holy shit, you're so cool. And then he's just this curmudgeon old, like, leave me alone. I'm on this island. I hate everybody.
He's broken.
He's a broken man. And when that first happened, after I saw the movie, I was kind of like, man, that's not the Luke Skywalker I know. But like, as I kind of, I've watched this movie a ton. I think out of all of the sequel trilogy movies, I think I've watched this one the most. Like I've rewatched it because at first I rewatched it to sort of solidify how I thought about it and sort of like keep marinating in that story to try to figure out like, what is it I like? What is it I don't like? Why don't I like it? And as I've done that, I've kind of been like, this is the most Luke Skywalker story really when you think about it, because he was always kind of like, he's Anakin Skywalker's kid, right? He's very emotional. He's a little whiny, especially in A New Hope. So it would make sense that he would just kind of be like, and what happened to him is a really awful thing. He's like, I'm going to rebuild the Jedi Order. And he's got all this weight on his shoulders to reestablish the Jedi Order. That's a lot for somebody. And what this movie shows, I think, is a much more realistic approach to how that would affect an actual human being and not a caricature of a superhero, which I think in the long run is a much more interesting tale. And what Rian Johnson does in this movie so well, and again, I don't think he hits everything out of the park 100%, but what he does so well is he captures, not only does he take Star Wars in completely new directions, but he also leads to the spirit of what Star Wars is, I think, and that is the hope of an everyday person to stand up to what's wrong. And I think that's encapsulated with the very tiny like subplot with the little kids on the Canto Bight planet. And, you know, like he's able to bring in elements of the past and say, hey, the past is important, but you can't let that dictate your future. You have to make your own future with what you know of the past. And
let the past die.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Mm-hmm. But I even think in this movie, like even he is kind of saying like, you have to move on from the past, but you know, you have to recognize where you came from to get where you're going. Mm. And I think it's a really beautiful movie. I do have some quibbles with it. We'll get to that in the recap. But
porgs. Steve hates porgs.
Dude, don't even lie. I fucking love porgs so goddamn much. That's one of my quibbles is this movie. Not enough porgs.
Yeah.
Not enough porgs. That one porg that was looking down the barrel of the lightsaber actually ignited it. Best scene in the movie, I'm just saying. But Kit, how do you feel about this movie?
I love this movie, and I struggle to talk about it because it's so much controversy and debate is baked into it, and so I get a little defensive in advance, and it's one of those things where you're just primed to fight, to scrap, you know, because you've gotten so much shit, you've been bullied your whole life, you're not going to get stuffed in any fucking Star Wars lockers anymore. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, as I get older, like I've come to understand what it must have felt like to watch this movie as a lifelong Star Wars fan, as somebody who was just so enamored by the New Hope that they had been given as Luke is offered that lightsaber at the end of the first film. And what a kick in the nuts this must have been, even for good people, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's unfair to lump people with legitimate criticism into the go woke, go broke neckbeard crowd that also hates this movie for completely different reasons, right? And the people that harassed certain characters that are given a good time in this movie that didn't deserve any of that. And so all that, so I understand, I can sympathize, but not empathize with how you must feel. However, and I was really with trepidation rewatching it last night thinking, I hope I love it still, because I was such a snarky fuck y'all kind of person when I watched it the first few times back in 2017.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, after watching the other 7 and then sitting down to watch Last Jedi last night, this is the only one that like moved me profoundly. Like the kind of when you're in the middle of like a symphonic swell to the score and you're staring at your TV and you just get that, you know, kind of like it's the only one so far that has done that. And it does it about 4 times.
Oh man, wait till Solo.
I truly think it's such a beautiful story that does have reverence, so much reverence for the films that come before it that Ryan knew like the only way forward is to broaden this story. Like we have to it baked into this film are retorts to the criticism of it that he knew was coming. And I think that that's so brilliant. He has characters like Yoda say, I think, you know, have you watched a lot of the other movies? Have you read the supposedly canon stories? Page turners, they are not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's hilarious. And of course, let the past die, kill it if you have to. But there's so much an embrace of gray in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's baked into actual Star Wars canon that so many people supposedly love, is that the Jedi were vain and driven by hubris to failure. And failure, the best teacher is, right? And we've always, only Sith deals in absolutes. And yet Luke falls prey to that by assuming immediately out of fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, that Kylo cannot be turned back to the light side of the Force, right? Like all the mistakes that these characters made were baked into the movies that people love as things to not do. So it actually, I think, tracks. It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Like even I, a filthy casual, would love to see the Luke Skywalker of yesteryear, fully formed Jedi Master wrecking house, you know? But that's a silly, childish thing to want. It doesn't serve the story.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan understood that. So he had Luke say that. Do you think I'm just going to face down the whole First Order as one man, like just be a superhero? And everybody's like, yeah, do it, you know? And I get it.
But he also does do it.
And then he does it is what's so funny, but like kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think what this movie tried to do by democratizing the Force, seen by the stable boy on Canto Bight, but also by Rey. I was actually shocked, not shocked, that's dramatic, but you know, a lot of the conversation we had last week kind of delved into The Last Jedi accidentally. And there was some discussion of like, I kind of wish, I think it's how I took it. I kind of wish Rey had been the child of Kenobi. I think that's neat, you know, and it took me back to the internet hypothesizing after Force Awakens came out, a period of the internet I forgot where everybody was constantly talking about that. And
who's Rey's parents? Yeah.
And so again, Rian Johnson bakes that into the script and has Kylo tell her. I was watching a video by Movies with Mikey Newman, Film Joy on YouTube. Brilliant. And his video on Star Wars make me cry. And I don't even like the fucking movies that much. That's how passionate he talks about them. But he talked about how epic it was that all of this came from Kylo Ren. The whole bit about like, you have no place in this story. You are no one, but not to me. Like how beautiful that is coming from him.
Yeah.
Because he is the ultimate legacy character. He is the child of Solo and Skywalker. And he's the villain. And yet, and the person with the villain origin story, the person abandoned at birth by junkies to a crap planet and raised by monsters and left to fend for herself, is the hero. It's flip-flopped because he's the ultimate hero and she's the ultimate villain, and how on purpose and beautiful that is. And I think that's just a brilliant way of looking at this movie.
Yeah.
And it makes Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker so much worse.
I know.
Even as a shit.
Well,
I mean, to undo the beauty that he tried to give this.
Yeah.
You know, because we are all the stable boy. We're
Yes.
just fucking stupid nerds from Kentucky. And he gave him
we have our little ring with the
gave
Rebel
him-
Alliance
yeah.
symbol that we're like, yay, nerds.
He gave him the rebel ring and he gave him the force power. And he's like, this, and they're sitting there playing with the Luke Skywalker toy. Like, that is Steve.
Yeah.
And that's how Ryan ended that movie. It's so beautiful.
Yep.
And then Disney was like, fuck that. We fucked up. And it like, I was about to cry talking about like, it's such a beautiful thing that he tried to give us. He was like, hi, Phil, at the end of the movie. You know, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I was pretty brief with how I recalled this movie, but I will say that I am not online enough to give a shit what most fans think about this movie. I was mainly just concerned about like what Steve thought. I didn't give a shit what anybody else thought of this movie, because I know that when I watched it, I could tell that they were doing something different, that they were trying to take, because like force projection had never been done before. So and the dyad that those two share had never been done.
It's a mind meld, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, if you think about it, a force projection is just a force ghost.
Sure, but not in that
Not
direct
in that capacity.
way.
Yeah.
So it was clear to me like they're taking it in a different direction. I don't hate this. I think it's cool that they're like trying something new. Like we're on movie 8. Like if they're doing the same thing by movie 8, like what are we doing at this point? Like expand it, like make it new, make it fresh. So I respected what they were doing. I think along Steve's lines, like I did have some reservations initially about like, man, like Luke's like kind of a jerk, but I understood why. And so I didn't get any of the controversialness of this until probably months afterward, when I asked Steve, like, what are people saying online about this? And he's like, it's not good. So, and it shocked me because like you, I watched this movie and I was like, this is great. Like I enjoy, sure, there are things that are dumb in this movie, but overall,
That's
like
every Star Wars
movie has dumb shit in it.
Yeah.
So it just,
I think it's funny, like as much as we love Luke Skywalker, it's really like it's something completely new and bold that he's doing. But at the same time, there's a Force Awakens aspect of it where it's literally just doing Yoda on Dagobah again. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure. But like if Yoda like didn't want to do the work,
I guess, but it was a self-imposed exile, right? Yeah. And he was a little resistant at first, even though he was like cute and coy about it.
How hilarious would that be if Luke Skywalker was super cute and coy about it? It was like,
you got any snacks?
Like she hands him the lightsaber, like, ooh, a lightsaber, ooh, the Jedi's weapon this is. But he's like doing the Joker laugh.
I can take you to Luke.
Come, but first eat.
Yeah. Snacks.
And he makes him like nasty ass fish sticks.
Yeah. Do the whole bit again. Because he's got his X-Wing under the water again, you know?
Lift that. We all do it. Lift that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think
would like she have to like carry him on her back too? Like,
oh, there's a really funny behind the scenes still of Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill where Mark Hamill like got on her.
Oh,
she was
cute.
Piggybacking and he's like pointing like that way. And it's really cute. Yeah,
that is adorable. And those are my thoughts. I think we're all generally positive about it.
Yeah.
But I truly love this movie.
I think if you hate this movie and you're listening to this right now, you're probably not going to like this episode because we're not going to hate on it the way that most people will.
Keep listening. There will be honest criticism, but I think overall we all like this movie. I remember back when we first reviewed this in 2017. I mean, go back and listen to that episode because you will hear me like on air, like, this thing, I don't know. And then you guys are telling me your thoughts on it. I'm like, okay. And I'm listening.
I'm trying.
It's actually, I think if memory serves me, because I haven't listened to that episode in years, but if memory serves me, it was a nice little therapy session. Basically you guys doing an intervention, like, Steve, it's okay. But I've come around to it so much over the years, but I remember even then in my most vulnerable state as a Star Wars fan, just recently off of this movie, even then I remember saying, I feel like in a couple years, in several years, people are going to look back very fondly on The Last Jedi. They're going to look back and think of this as a great movie after the initial shock of what the movie wears off.
Well, I mean,
and I think it definitely would have if Rise of Skywalker didn't come out and just completely shit the bed for everyone involved. The
critical consensus for this film was very strong when it came out as well, right? Mm-hmm. I want to read a review from probably the most well-known movie critic on the planet right now.
Roger Ebert.
Leonard Maltin.
He's dead. David Ehrlich is amazing. But this is what he has to say. This is a portion of his full review from IndieWire. An immensely satisfying experience that doubles as an urgent call to action for mega franchise filmmaking. The Last Jedi snuck up on us like an Imperial destroyer hiding in the shadow of a Death Star, shirking expectations at every turn, and somehow resolving as both the most ubiquitous movie of the year and the most unexpected, taking the reins of the most obsessive fandom in the entertainment universe, a responsibility that would scare most directors into deference. Johnson mounted a bona fide insurrection against an industry that's fueled by nostalgia, grounding his story in a simple idea that was bound to ruffle some feathers and piss off some fanboys. If you really love something, you have to let it go. It's a notion that other massive franchises should take to heart if they want to survive. So he says, David Ehrlich, that this is... I wish I had taken a photo of it because his ranking of Star Wars is really funny. But long story short, Last Jedi is far and away his favorite. It's at the number one. And then it's like the way he did it was like the one with porgs and then like a huge space. And he was like, the ones that defined your childhood, I guess, and then a huge space, and then like, and anyway, it's really adorable the way
the one with porgs,
the ones you used to hate that you now love after that, and then the clones is at the bottom.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
and I don't think that that's a crazy take, but me and my friends have always loved this movie, and perhaps the most of all of them. But I understand now as I get older, like I said before, that like it's a different thing. It's almost unfair because I didn't sit with my little Luke Skywalker toy as a boy and pull it out of my old attic and watch this movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was relatively uncaring and fresh. So I appreciated some of the deviations that would have offended me otherwise, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't understand about like fandoms is when they make new stuff, they seem to think like it essentially erases what came before. And that's not the case. Like you can still enjoy those things. Like
Oh, it's idiotic.
Yeah.
And so like you don't necessarily
Those
have to
things
let
still
it
exist.
go. Like you can just enjoy the things you enjoy.
And it's specific to stories, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if Pearl Jam drops a new album tomorrow and it's complete shit,
it doesn't ruin.
literally no one is like, oh, well, Versus is gone.
Right.
10's done. Vitalogy's toast.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Right.
You know, it's just like nobody says that. It's so fucking weird.
Right.
You know, if they remaster a Michael Jackson album, nobody's like, well, Thriller from my childhood gone. Like,
Right.
you know, it's just, it still exists. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Like, yeah.
It's goofy. It's a silly thing. It happened with Fallout, just to which is something that we talked about the other day, but just to revisit it, I found it fascinating. As somebody who didn't play the games, there was it was the tiniest change that the show made that changed the year that Fallout New Vegas would have to have taken place, just by a few years. And people were like, retcon, trash, you know, and like they're so upset. It's goofy, and you know, but they're so precious about things,
Sure.
You know, and it's almost as if they're just looking for that, and they're not actually upset.
Didn't they change the year on The Last of Us as well?
Yes. Yeah.
But who cares?
Well, that's why it was trash, and it's a reminder that if you go with woketh, you go with broketh.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Just saying that.
So says the Lord.
But let's get into it. Our play-by-play recap. The Last Jedi starts. I think it addresses things in the opening crawl in a really tongue-in-cheek way if you're watching it for at least the second time, because it's basically like Supreme Leader Snoke, definitely an important character. LOL. Dominates the galaxy. Hopefully Luke will do what everyone expects. LOL. And the Resistance is in trouble and must first escape before we can do any of that. That's the thing that we're set up with. And we get the kind of tilt down to the ship, but then there's like this crazy zoom down through all of these ships to the surface. Did you guys
Definitely the most unique, I think, intro into a Star Wars movie for sure.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Did you guys catch some bad ADR in the first couple minutes of this? Like multiple characters. Now, every movie has some bad ADR if you're looking for it, but I was kind of shocked. Like it was like
which instance are you talking about specifically?
It was, I don't even know her name. It's the young woman with like
the pigtails.
The pigtails that has the rebel sweater.
The sister of Rose, right?
Is that, no. It's the one that's on the ground with Poe for most of the movie.
Okay, yeah, she does the mutiny with Poe. I think, is that Carrie Fisher's daughter?
Billy,
Carrie Fisher's daughter
is it really?
Is one of the Resistance officers. Maybe that's in Rise of Skywalker.
I think you might be correct about who that is. And it's sacrilegious of me to not know that. But anyway, she says something and it's like her mouth keeps moving a couple seconds later. And multiple characters do that until it cuts to Poe in the cockpit. It's off. But anyway, none of that's right. I just want to see if you guys caught that.
No, I didn't catch it.
But the Star Destroyers show up. They're hot on the tails of the rebellion. And Hux is so ready to snuff out all Resistance life.
I love General Hux. I'm just saying, he's like the perfect level of sniveling Imperial officer. Like he is like the Starscream of the Star Wars universe. And if people know me at all, they know that Starscream is my favorite Transformer. So like just the sniveling, like little, I'm gonna snuff out the Resistance, but I suck. I'm so incompetent. I'm a nepo baby.
It's kind of silly.
It is very
extremely silly.
Very silly.
But it's like it's a good way to portray a fascist, you know? It's
he's
just a
just like
bitch.
extremely arch in this movie. Like that's like he has no other gear.
Yeah.
And he tells Captain Kennedy to prime the dreadnought.
Dude, Captain Kennedy, why is that guy not leading the fucking First Order?
Honestly,
that's a badass officer.
I was going to say, my note is Kennedy took it like a champ.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, you got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah. And so like, Poe kind of flies up and I believe he's tooling with you, sir. where he does like a fake call into into him. Like
I'm looking fighter.
I'm looking for General Hugs.
Yeah.
Which is a joke I never picked up until closed captioning.
So I wrote that down. Like I thought that Disney Plus messed that up. But no, you're saying that's in the script.
He's fucking with him.
He's fucking with him.
Okay. I'm looking for a General Hugs.
Yeah. This is General Hux. Hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? And did you know the woman that patches him through is Sweet Robin's mom from Game of Thrones?
Really?
Yeah. So Lisa Aaron is the officer that's like, call coming through.
throw him out the moon. No. What if she went back into that character?
That's what I say.
Captain Kennedy. He does the whole, I love that. I believe he's tooling with you, sir.
I do love, I've been, after I watched this movie, so I watched this movie twice this week, actually.
Ooh.
Once with Erica, just because I wanted to experience it.
Did she get scared at the opening crawl again?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
I'll keep updating you to see if she ever does not get scared at the opening crawl. But it every time it happens, she's like, I even know it's coming and I still jump.
I thought of her last night because I had my TV way too loud because I was letting my daughter watch Moana. And she likes it when she really loves those songs.
Oh,
and
yeah. It's a great movie.
It got me. And I was like, I pulled an Erica because it scared the fuck out of me.
Well, I watched it twice and I don't remember this line at all until my most recent viewings, but like Poe going, happy beeps, buddy, happy beeps. Yeah. So I've been like saying that to myself whenever I'm like stressed out, like happy beeps.
So every few minutes.
Buddy. Yeah, literally every minute of every day I say that.
Get that tattooed on your hand. Happy beeps. But Poe, he's destroying all of the surface cannons so that bombers can destroy the dreadnought is his plan. He's also kind of creating a diversion. And then
another reason why Captain Kennedy's a badass is like Hux is like, why aren't you scrambling your fighters? And he's like, or why aren't you shooting that ship down? He's like, because we need to scramble our fighters 5 minutes ago. Like this is a dude who's like he's stuck in his rank and he's like, I have to take orders from this sniveling little shithead.
Yeah. He's way more qualified. And honestly, Poe wouldn't have gotten away with it if Kennedy was in charge.
Exactly right.
No, Kennedy would have fucking murked him so fast.
Yeah.
But they get away basically, and Leia calls for Poe to return and let's get out of here. He disobeys. He wants to take out the dreadnought, right? So he calls in the bombers. Bombers are dropping like flies. And Paige, who is the sister of Rose, a character that we're going to meet shortly, needs to go drop the payload manually in order to kill the dreadnought. And there's a wonderful sequence that doesn't follow any of the physics of space, but none of the Star Wars movies do. So it doesn't matter.
No.
Space does not kill you if you're in it without a suit in Star Wars.
Right.
And there is gravity in Star Wars space.
Well,
the mines are magnetic.
Is that what they did?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I think so.
But like all ships have artificial gravity though.
On
ships,
like, sure.
Like the Falcon, they're not just floating through that in space. They're using it like they would being on Earth.
Yeah.
So
so this is a controversial opinion because at least again I'm comparing what the internet says, and that maybe that's not a smart thing to do on this particular podcast. But controversial opinion. I love these bombers. I think they're awesome. Really cool looking. Yeah, there's a huge structural design flaw. Sure. But they look fucking cool.
Yeah,
I love the bombs. And this little scene with Paige is honestly like some of the best. It's like if this was a short film made by like a fan, and a fan made this short little film about a bomber gunner in Star Wars that sacrificed herself to kill the dreadnought, people would laud this little story as like the best thing ever on the internet. I just think it's so well done. And immediately I'm like, dude, I love that Paige character. I wish she didn't die. I wish she was in the movie more. Like, cause I just thought that was such a really well done scene for a character we don't know and have never met and we'll never see again.
Yeah, it's that's what I mean about this movie. Like, moves me more than any of the others because like it really tries to get into the emotional heart of a rebellion.
Yeah,
in the everyman, and Paige represents that early on. But honestly, Kennedy took it like a champ. As soon as he realizes he's about to die, he just has that like
stiff upper lip.
Yeah, like, this is bullshit.
I mean, like,
damn you, Hux.
Revenge of the Sith started off with a really big space battle above a planet to planet. And that was great. But like, this is more of that, just more rugged. Like this is a really rugged opening to a Star Wars movie. And I think to your point, like it gets at the emotional core way better, like immediately than Revenge of the Sith did. Because like the buzz droids were fun and whatever, but like this is like real. Like this feels way more important and real than any previous beginning to a Star Wars film from this perspective.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, I also realized that it's almost without argument, I think, that BB-8 is better than R2-D2. And after this movie,
I think you're right. Yeah.
BB-8 is America's sweetheart. All right. I will die on this hill.
I love how his like head can rotate around the ball.
Oh, I loved when he dropped down in the X-Wing and we saw like what that looked like within it. Because we hadn't seen that before. So
now it's silly that what he's functionally doing is sticking his finger in a leaky hole.
Yeah.
You know, it's a visual gag. And it's silly, but that's Star Wars.
It works for me. He's going to use his whole head.
If you're going to hate that and not hate, what's that noise? That's nothing. Like, come on. What are we doing here?
But Leia, everybody's celebrating the destruction of the Dreadnought, and Leia briefly is excited for it, but then looks at all the losses that they're suffering for it. And I love that this movie, famously, Star Wars: A New Hope is the quintessential hero's journey, and it's fabricated completely by George Lucas to appeal to the masses for that. Like this is like the heart of every story imbued into one film. And this is in many ways the anti-hero's journey, this movie, which is why some people find it hard to swallow, but you've got the Han Solo analog in Poe Dameron just making mistakes, resulting in heavy losses. People die because he wants to be a douchebag and be the hero and, be the cocksure, handsome, debonair rogue. And Rian Johnson's like, that's not a good team way to be, And Poe Dameron's character it's not just Luke Skywalker. It's like everything you want to love and like about Star Wars is kind of realistically brought down a peg in this movie. I think that Poe Dameron's exploits and his character arc in this film is just as egregious and awesome as Luke Skywalker's.
I would say he has the largest character arc in this movie by far. And I do think it is this beautiful, sometimes the best measurement of success is just surviving because you have to keep that spark alive. And if you keep doing these heroic, there's a place and time for those, but if that's your only gear, you're just going to keep whittling down the people that you have on your side. You have to sometimes protect that for the next fight,
Yeah, it's not about fighting what we hate. That's how we win, is saving what we love.
Yeah. Yeah. Goddamn, Rose.
Write that down. I just said, I was going to take credit for that. You ruined it.
I'm sorry.
For people that only listen to half of the pod, they would have revered me.
Hey, you're still on Twitter. It counts. Womp womp.
That's right. So Hux.
Note calls Hux.
Oh, great. I'll take it in my chambers.
I love when his head appears and Hux is like, good. But then he just like eats shit. Like with the Force, he just slams his head on the fucking...
breaks his lip open.
Yeah. It's brutal.
Force
also
slam.
Just like completely makes him look like a fool in front of the entire bridge crew.
Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to take it in his chambers.
Yeah.
Lisa Aaron was like, should have gone to the moon door.
I mean, it's technically Liza, but let's not be douches here. And then he's like, we didn't lose them because the resistance got away. They're tied on the end of a string. And we cut to Finn, who wakes in a bubble. Is that like a Bacta tank suit? Is that what we're supposed to believe?
Tech, I guess. So sure.
I like to pretend
as good as ours.
It's Bacta juice in his like bubble suit.
Juice.
Right.
But
Finn naked leaking bag.
Finn naked leaking bag.
That's actually my password to most things. Finn naked leaking bag 69.
It's F1NN naked with the E as the 3.
N8KED.
And then we cut to Rey giving Luke the lightsaber. The beginning after the end of Force Awakens. Oh my God, it's so exciting. And then he tosses it over his shoulder and walks away. And I have to say, I saw this at like the midnight premiere or whatever, as I'm sure you guys did. Again, I was with my friend, longtime
Brad,
Star Wars fan, Ruin Johnson guy. But like the entire theater was taken aback, but everybody laughed when he did that,
I think ours did too, right? Yeah.
And it wasn't like an immediate, what the fuck? Everybody was like, okay,
they're in it.
That's spunky. I'm in it,
Yeah.
So he tosses it over his shoulder, walks away. We get the little penguin monkeys.
Porgs, baby.
Porgs, baby. Oh my God. Can we spend at least 20 minutes talking about how awesome porgs are?
We don't have the time.
I gotta say, porgs are like engineered for a very specific purpose in this movie, and it works on me every time.
I know.
They're
love
adorable.
Yeah.
I know.
Porgs were a huge hit.
Oh, well, I think I had my sorry.
I was going to say, I don't think porgs were originally meant to be in this movie. The reason why porgs exist is because Achto, the planet they're on, is filmed on Skellig Michael. Is that the name of it? It's a island. And that's where the birds puffins live. And there are so many puffins on this island, they can't fucking do anything about them. So they're like, why don't we just film it and we'll just CGI like a dumb looking face on it and call it an alien. And then they were like, well, let's just make this puppet. And I guess it was so cute that they decided to keep going with it.
I had a new puppy when this movie came out, and I got her a porg plushie to play with. So in my mind, like I see porgs and I think of
your puppy
Myrtle as like the smallest puppy, and just that being a good time in my life. So porgs equal puppy to me.
It had to be an expensive dog toy.
No, it was like $10, I think.
Steve's got porgs everywhere. It's really creepy. Happy beeps.
Happy beeps, buddy. Happy beeps.
But yeah, we see the little penguin monkeys and the X-wing under the water.
Penguin monkeys.
And Luke flees Rey basically, and we get somebody knocking on the door, and then the door flies off his hinges because it's angry Chewie. Like,
I didn't drive all the way across the goddamn galaxy.
Well, he's still mad about Han too. He's like, "Look, bitch."
I completely forgot that Chewie was on the ship.
I did too. Like watching it last night, I was like, "Oh, Chewie."
Yeah, Bigfoot. There's Bigfoots on this island.
And he's like, Chewie, where's Han? And we get that. He's dead. I don't know if you guys picked that up. That's the answer to that question.
What?
This movie is really good at pulling on those heartstrings of Han being dead, but also like even that, like the fact that Carrie Fisher had like died like a couple weeks before this movie came out.
Oh yeah,
it's really good at tugging those emotional strings. Like, and it still hits to this day. Like. Like Mark Hamill's delivery, like, where's Han? It's just so, oh no, he doesn't know because he's closed himself off from the Force and he doesn't know this.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's why he didn't sense it. He shut the door.
Yeah. I did notice, I was looking through some IMDb stuff earlier, and one of the little factoids that I thought was this kind of a neat thing was his door on his hut is an X-wing wing.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, not all of it's under the sea. He took at least one wing with him.
Well, the little lizard nuns are probably angry about him changing the decor.
Caretakers?
That's true.
They're lizard nuns.
They're like, oh, this is part of your HOA.
He's got HOA fees for the Jedi. But then we cut to Daddy being very proud of Hux for the lightspeed tracking maneuver, which honestly, Hux is a dummy, but it is apparently a brilliant move. And Kylo is freshly wounded. He's got that like burn scratch on his face. And basically, Hux and Kylo are always in competition. Snoke is very proud of Hux in this moment and shits all over Kylo. I always knew you were a bitch. You thought you were a Vader, but you're just a little pussy in a mask.
Take off that mask.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Honestly, it's ridiculous.
He hates that mask.
Yeah.
He hates it.
The delivery of Andy Serkis as Snoke is really, really well done. Like, he's actually a very good villain. I know he doesn't last very long, but his presence is felt in this movie very well. Like, just like take that ridiculous thing off. It's like, oh god,
well,
he's cool.
Because he gives him shit about that in the last movie, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I like that about Kylo's character, because he's kind of the Kyle Ren. Like he's very emotional. He's young, but also like he needs the mask to separate who he really, it's like fully embody the evil character that he's trying to be.
But Snoke sees it as like cosplay.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't see it as like a real meaningful
if
part
anyone
of his
needs a mask,
character.
it is clearly me. My left eye, I don't know what it's doing. It's beyond lazy. It's lethargic.
I gotta respect Snoke for a dude who looks like a ball sack.
Yeah.
And he still is like, you know what I'm gonna wear today? Sequin pajamas. Like, fucking respect,
With
dude.
gold filigree.
I'm just gonna hang out in my red room and
I'm going to slay, Queen.
He wakes up every morning and goes, I choose to slay.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, Kylo's face is all burnt, and he told, and then he says, "You were bested by a girl who never held a lightsaber," and all the fans were like, "That's what I said." She's a real Mary Sue, don't you think, Kylo?
You were unbalanced because you killed your father, and also you were shot in the dick.
Yeah, exactly. He was unbalanced.
Oh, that would have been way better if he like says, you have too much of your father's heart in you. You were unbalanced. That's why you lost this girl. And Kylo's like, no, it's because we got shot in the dick.
I was shot in the dick.
It really hurt.
And I had to punch it to try to keep going.
You try punching yourself in the dick just to keep going, dude.
Then he goes and rages out, destroys his mask in the elevator.
The Ren repair department is back in action. Just repairing their ships after.
It's a whole stormtrooper corps that follows him around just to clean up his shit.
With spackle. Yeah. We cut to Rey telling Luke all of the hot goss that's been going on in the galaxy.
I do love how they cut back to her and she's basically like, and that's pretty much it as far as the story goes up to now.
And then there's, more of Ryan speaking directly to the fans, I think. What did you think was going to happen here is what Luke says in that instance. And they're like, badass shit. I don't know. And then we get
he looks at the camera and just watch the season 2 finale of Mandalorian if you want that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate, I'm not above it. I appreciate a lot of the fan service.
Yeah.
I love Force Awakens. I love the first 2 seasons of Mando. I love the finale of Rogue One with all of my heart and just watching Darth Vader wreck shit.
Yeah. Ways to 10 of 5.
And I hate the parts about Kenobi that let me down. And I just wanted the fan service of that stupid shit. And then you got Vader just baffled by a line of fire. Oh, what do I do?
Or oh shit, he was in a different ship behind the ship that I grabbed. Oops.
Oh, they got me.
Bamboozled again.
You didn't tell me there were 2. So I like the fan service stuff, but also come on. Then we cut to Luke milking the walruses. And Rey is just disgusted by the eye contact, and who can blame her?
So I love watching these movies with Erica specifically because she hasn't really watched them.
You get the fresh perspective.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating for me because I've seen them so many times. I have my own preconceived biases and everything, so I love seeing her reaction.
You love walrus titties, but you're like, does the average person?
Let's see what she's into. Maybe I can get a cosplay out of this later.
What if I pause this right here and see how she reacts?
No, but her reaction to the walrus thing was so fucking funny because she's like, what? What is this? Oh, he looked at it.
Steve's like, you be Luke Skywalker. I'll be the
walrus siren thing.
And then we can switch.
These I love the design of these walrus things because they're the most hideous, disgusting things. And even in the background, the ones that aren't involved in this milking, the ones in the background are just kind of looking over and then they shoot snot out of their water out of their nose and stuff. They're just so gross.
Yeah.
So gross.
Do you think Luke, it just reminded him of the blue milk that Beru used to give him as a boy?
Just like Aunt Beru's.
The way it drips down his beard too is so such a nice touch.
Yeah, it's
does he
savage.
wink at her too? I
don't think so.
He's trying to gross her out a little bit, get her out of there. And what an incredibly inefficient way to fish. I feel like there's an easier way.
Oh, let me pole vault to a side of a craggy cliff.
He's showing off.
And Ray's like, be careful. And he's like,
that scene is so much more funnier because when she's like, be careful, there's a porg nest in the frame and the porg's looking over like, be careful.
Daddy,
please.
Bunch of little pippins.
Oh, I like porgs more now.
Porgs are like little pippins.
Little pippins.
She finds his porn stash in the hut. It's just a bunch of Playboys and stuff. No, these are OG Jedi texts, first printing.
I read them
Who
from
are
the articles.
Signed by Plagueis.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of an old Jedi. I'm sorry, guys.
You went with Plagueis, not a Jedi, famously. Famously the subject of a story the Jedi would not tell you.
That's why they're in the old tags. Right. Aren't most Sith previous Jedi, though, that turned bad?
Not all, but a good portion of them. Yeah, sure.
Who's like a millennium old Jedi that I could have said?
Azar Kun.
Ooh.
Or Darth Bane.
I like how Phil nodded sagely and knowingly when you said Adar Kun.
Darth Malik. Darth Nihilus. Darth Revan.
Those are all Darths.
All of the new High Republic people we don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're excited to watch Acolyte, though, are we not?
Absolutely.
We are.
Yeah.
In this house. We are. So yeah, the OG Jedi text
from nowhere,
signed by Adar Kun. And then, he's like, who are
Exar
you?
Kun. I'm sorry. I said his
Exar
name
Kun,
wrong.
yeah.
Exar Kun.
I was like, that doesn't sound right, but I'm not going to
Exar Kun.
question Steve.
Yeah, sorry. I just had that memory. As him saying it even worse wrong somehow reminded me to be more correct.
Sparked it in you. So I love that we get the audience surrogate questions again. You know, it's Luke, who are you? What's special about you? Because that's what the fandom's been asking for 2 years or however long it's been since Force Awakens. It's just like the audience had kept asking, where is she from? Who's her parents? I can't wait to find out it's Kenobi. And he says, no one's from nowhere, right? And she says, I'm Jakku. And he's like, well,
that's
almost.
Pretty much from nowhere.
And that's a guy from Tatooine.
A planet that's farthest from.
We cut to Leia slapping the shit out of Poe and
you're demoted.
Demoting him instead of
Is
being
this the first
proud
time we've
of him.
seen a demotion? Because like most people get promoted to general.
Yeah, that's true. You've been demoted to general.
It's the only rank we have. Yeah. You're like a really low general. He's like, hey, we crushed it, dude. We killed a dreadnought. At what cost? Dope. You disobeyed my orders, and 200 people died.
Get your head out of your cockpit.
Paige. Rose's sister. Rose is so sad right now.
She's in the wherever the genocide of the escape pods are, crying. We can't get her out of there.
People who aren't even trying to leave. They're literally mopping.
She's like, just running around with a taser down there. So sad. And I do like the line where he's like, there were heroes on that mission, and Leia retorts, dead heroes, no leaders. I'm like, ooh, fuck. Princess Leia.
You can't go toe to toe with her.
Being back. That's why Princess Leia is a G, man.
She is a G.
She's slay.
Yeah, to me, she's royalty.
Only to you. But they're getting low on fuel. And then it's at this moment that the First Order shows up and they realize they've been tracked through light speed, which is supposed to be impossible. So now they can't bother light speeding again. They're going to use all their gas and they're just going to show up right on them because they're on the end of a string.
Tied on the end of a string indeed.
And there's this funny line where Leia, while she's chastising Poe, says, you can't just jump in an X-Wing and blow something up all the time. And permission to jump in an X-Wing and blow something up, ma'am. Permission granted. But no, too late. The hangar gets destroyed before he can get in the X-Wing. And she can feel that her son is nearby. So there's this connection between her and Kylo. And
the Leia theme plays. Oh.
And he looks at the cockpit and he's about to, he's redeemed slightly because he can't bear to kill his own mother, but then his flunkies swoop in and destroy the bridge. And then we get the scene that, if I'm being honest, I hated when I was in the theater. I like this movie more than 90% of most people at the time, but I did hate this scene, the scene where Leia uses the Force and floats herself back. Because I was still such a casual that I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that space doesn't kill people that aren't in a suit. And I wasn't even really aware or processing how force sensitive Leia was
to be fair,
as the twin of
never
Luke.
Shown much of that on screen. So I can understand why you would be like, wait, why is she like now all of a sudden?
Yeah. But it's not all of a sudden. It's hinted at in the other movies now that I've just watched them. But at the time I was like, the fuck?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But she is the twin of, also the child of Anakin. Like, it makes perfect sense that she'd be equally powerful, just kind of untrained.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But also a lot of, this is, I don't want to call it fan service. This is a memorial. This scene, again, she had died while filming it, and I think that there was.
But wasn't this in the
thing.
script before she passed, though?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was because she finished all of her scenes for this movie before she passed away.
That's why I don't think this is like.
Didn't they famously use unused footage from Force Awakens?
Of Rise of Skywalker.
in Rise.
Yeah,
I've heard that before, and I've never really bought that because I'm like, they didn't just write that in to give to her to essentially I don't know,
honor her,
pay homage or whatever. Like, that was in the script, I'm sure, before she passed. So I understand like why the meaning is ascribed after she's passed, and that's fine. But I don't think that was.
I will say I like the scene more now.
Oh, for sure,
because she passed away, and it's like this beautiful moment to kind of remember Carrie Fisher. But I don't like this.
Like you,
in isolation.
I remember Steve and I looked at each other during that scene, and I know deep down, I was like, I don't like this, because at the time it felt like a stretch.
Yeah.
But I've since come around to being like, I don't hate this. I don't love it, but I don't hate this the way
it's
I did
mid.
the first
I think
time. It's whatever.
So I'm half right. She did finish all of her scenes for Last Jedi, but she died almost a year before it came out. So she died in December of 2016.
So you're also, one could say, half wrong.
Yeah. From a certain point of view. I see this scene, I think, is a little problematic in terms. I think if you filmed it slightly different, it would be better. Because the way it's mostly captured in wides kind of looks a little silly, I think. But I think the close-up shots of her, like
the hand,
moving her hand, and you see like the space particles crystals reacting to the force around her. I think that's cool, but the really zippy, like where she's hand is stretched out and she zips, that shot is hokey. But so I think if you filmed it differently, it would be a lot more well received, because the idea of, oh, you can force push somebody, why can't you force pull yourself as well?
Sure.
Like that makes total sense to me. I just think the problem with the scene that I think would resolve a lot of people's issues is if it was filmed a little different.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I almost wonder if there was supposed to be like this, which is why I thought it was filmed after she passed, some sort of Sistine Chapel imagery to it that I don't like, but I think that's what he was going for. Mm-hmm.
I think that probably definitely affected the way they made the scene look.
I think the weirder thing about the scene is how Poe and crew are all like watching her lifeless body outside and like witnessing this. Like, oh wait, no, she's alive.
Oh wait, let's go.
Yeah, they kind of all panic through the window and run to let her in.
The thing that bothers me most about the scene, and I talked about this in our previous recording, was I just hate that this is also the death of Admiral Akbar, and it gets almost zero.
I got that in my notes.
People
that drives me nuts.
I don't even think it's made clear that is Admiral Akbar. I think at one point like Admiral, but they don't really like focus in like Admiral Akbar's like, it sure is a trap or something like that. Like they don't say his name. You're just supposed to assume like,
and he dies off screen,
and he gets sucked out in the background, but no one said, like, I think at one point like, with Admiral Akbar gone or something.
Yeah.
But it's just when they have that line,
we lost every bit of leadership, you know.
Yeah,
we were all there, even Admiral Akbar, and we're like, oh, he was there.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't like. I like that choice. Imagine. Like, why kill Admiral Akbar off in this way? That's too big of a character. Because in the expanded universe novels, like that was one of the only characters that just got to fucking live to be like 90 and died of old age, a peaceful life, and I'm like, good for him. No, he gets sucked down into fucking space unceremoniously.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that he force pulled himself to another door,
and they just don't know it.
Will someone please let me in?
Like from the thing.
I would like to come back inside.
I would like to come in now.
It's a hatch.
Get it?
Yeah.
I'm all right.
I'm also force sensitive. That's how I know about. That's how I can know when traps are happening.
May the force be with me.
And then we cut to Chewie eating a porg while porgs look on.
Well, about to eat a porg.
Well, I think it's funny that he doesn't. I never understood, because this kind of joke happens all the time in movies where like cooking a chicken while chickens are nearby, blah, 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 right? You already murdered it.
Yeah.
You know, you might as well eat that one and maybe commit afterward to not doing that anymore. But it does nothing to, like, that thing is cooked quite literally, you know? But
he just lost his appetite.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just awkward for him.
I mean, you saw those big sad eyes, though.
It's true.
I mean, if you were going to enjoy a delicious meal and then that delicious meal's family came in to watch you, would you still go through with the eating, or would you wait until they leave?
I would wait till they left.
Yeah.
I would roar at them and make them all leave.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think I could eat a burger.
Keep at least one on a pet, as a pet on my ship. Pet? Yeah. Because it's just on his dashboard like a bobblehead later. If he just swats it away.
If you displease me, you know what happens.
That's right. So that's a funny bit, though. Weird hard cut to that right after the Leia stuff.
I know.
But maybe a necessary
let's
moment
reset
of levity.
The mood, yeah.
And we cut to Luke sneaking by Chewie to look around the Falcon, and he plays with the dice in the mirror, the Fresh Prince dice, and all that stuff.
The dice thing
completely retconned.
The totally retconned dice. I remember when this movie came out.
So is that from Solo and not from the trilogy or something?
So the dice is in the trilogy, but it's such a like no one ever mentions it. No
It's
one
not
looks
a
at it.
plot
It's just a
point, yeah.
thing that's in the background that no one even really mentioned. Because I remember when this movie came out, Phil and I like at the end were like, "What's the thing with the dice?"
Yeah, we were so confused. Yeah,
And since then, like Solo came out
to drive home that point.
Yeah, Solo came out after this, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Rogue One
Yes.
came out before. Solo comes out, and the dice is a much bigger thing there, but it's clearly something they threw in the Disney verse to be like, remember Solo, Han Solo?
Look, I don't hate the dice, but it's clearly a made up thing for this new generation.
Yeah.
which is fine.
Kids these days.
It's just funny that in this movie, it's this big like, here's Han's dice, and you're just kind of like,
This is meaningful.
what?
It's like how Anakin gave Padme that necklace thing, like, except if they had not set that up in episode 1 and by episode 3 she's
Holding it.
revealed to have that. It's like, what's that thing?
And he's like, oh, you have that necklace I made you. Look directly at the camera.
right.
Remember?
Yeah.
And he runs into R2, his old
Love
buddy.
this scene.
And honestly, as somebody who like really could not care less about the OG trilogy in like the scheme of things that like
You couldn't care less about that?
I could probably if I tried.
Okay.
An effort was made.
I mean, you liked them well enough.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. Like when R2 plays the original Leia message
Yeah.
and, you know, and Luke's like, it's a cheap shot. That hits, dude. Like I get all like, oh God, you got to do it now. Cause what's more important to nerd fandom than that moment? You know what I mean? Like I totally like,
that shot
retconned my own feelings and was like, oh, what a beautiful ploy, R2. Everybody loves that. Like it fucking works.
My old friend. And that shot of R2 playing the message, and then there's that close up of him like turning his head like, yeah, you get it?
So R2's face is the nodule, right? Like that's like the front of his face is the red eye and the nodule.
Yeah.
So when he turned to look at Luke, did like the whole projection just go like
The projection should have moved. Yeah. Maybe it's on like its own little swivel so we can keep it while he looks around. But Luke agrees to teach her the ways of the Jedi and why they need to end. So he's still snarky. So he's like begrudgingly willing to teach her some stuff.
I didn't want to teach it, but my little droid.
He's persuasive. He's happy beeps and boops.
he played an old video.
Gets me.
I got sentimental.
Back to, this is when I thought my sister was hot. This makes me uncomfortable because that's literally, you know.
Those old feelings are coming back.
Leia, we cut to Leia, who is unconscious. That's why Kylo's so upset. He realized that Luke's his father.
Oh no. He's like, I killed the wrong dad.
That should have
The wrong dad died.
That should have been the plot twist. We cut to Leia, who's unconscious. This is where they announce that Akbar and everyone else is dead. And Admiral Holdo takes over. Fucking Laura Dern, brought into the Star Wars universe.
When I saw this the first time, I was like, holy shit, Steve is going to cream his jeans.
I know. How is your Star Wars Jurassic Park fandom like coalescing in this moment? How does that feel?
It feels like a warm blanket being wrapped around me. Like it's like a warm American flag blanket, just keeping me safe.
I would have paid any amount because, we already got Sam Jackson in this franchise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would have paid any amount of money for Sam Neill to be some kind of...
Dude, I would have paid any amount of money possible to make Jeff Goldblum a Sith Lord.
I know.
Use your hate. It's for you. But he's like shirtless, like Jurassic Park shirtless.
And Dune did it first, but they should have definitely brought Christopher Walken in.
The Force, it finds a way. There it is. Fuck it. That would be so good.
The past has to die. Kill it.
If you have to.
That is one big pile of shit.
But she's the famous Admiral Holdo from the Battle of Chiron Belt. You guys know anything about the Battle of Chiron Belt?
Nope.
I don't know. I try to ignore things about belts.
And she chastises.
You are a suspendersman.
Yeah. Suspendersman. Yep. That's what they call me.
But she chastises Poe as a trigger happy flyboy. She knows people like him and points out that he's a captain, not a commander. Pretty sure you got demoted before Leia was in the coma. I think that's the last thing she did was shit upon your ass.
Shit it on.
But she actually really likes Poe. She just knows that that's what he needs right now is to be brought down a peg, you know? We cut to Finn sneaking away because he wants to save Rey. He's not completely cowardly. He wants, because he has the tracker that Rey is going to follow. He doesn't want her to come back into what he believes to be a doomed mission, right? Rose is there crying. She is the sister of Paige, the woman who died at the beginning of the film. And she's impressed by him at first. The Finn? My God. But then realizes that he's being a coward and stuns him. Oh, we got to looking at you checking the efficacy of the escape pods with a packed bag.
Also,
interesting.
This stun gun does not fuck around.
No.
It reminds me of the, what are they called? Connector links from the things that the pods use that Jar Jar hit.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Couplers.
Yeah, something
Power
like that.
couplers.
That's kind of what it does because it makes him all numb for a while. But yeah, it's a hard stun. And he's trying to save Rey. But anyway, then they devise this plan along with Poe to plan to sneak on board and disable the tracker, right? You can't just destroy the main ship. That's not going to do anything. It'll just deflect the lightspeed tracker to another ship.
And Finn's mopped that room like 100 times so he knows where it is.
The guy who's mopped it and the lady who could, whatever.
How many jobs did Finn have in the First Order?
No, he said his job was sanitation. So that was actually a good line. He would have been a mopper.
But did he do sanitation on Starkiller Base and Snoke's ship?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, he's been in the Order since birth?
Yeah.
So
that's true. I guess they need one shot of like a 10-year-old like mopping the aisles of a Star Destroyer.
I worked at KFC, Bob Evans, with my dad in construction all before I was like 18, you know?
Yeah. You think they mop like in Stormtrooper armor, or is he like one of those?
Phasma said you didn't get permission to take your hat off.
Sure.
We know he's an expert mopper, and that's all we need to know. So they hatch this plan, Poe's on board, and it's a biohexacrypt, and it's re-scrambled every hour. So they're going to need
as you all know.
They just cut to calling, was it Maz?
Maz Kanata. Calling
Maz, who's fighting someone in a union dispute. She's apparently a teamster.
She's fighting Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. No. She's
pay your employees, Maz.
I feel like she's on the side of the unions, I would hope.
I don't know. I feel like Maz is like cracking down on the employees.
She's a hardcore capitalist.
She is.
She doesn't want to give them health care.
Nobody gets breaks.
I used to trust you, Maz. And so they need a
Kanata, I'm once again asking you to provide your employees healthcare.
I took a bus to Canto Bight. So they need to find a master code breaker with a rose plume or red plume, whatever.
Red palm plume.
Red palm plume on Canto Bight. And that's the plan, right? Everybody loves the Canto Bight sequence. No problems there.
No, we all love it.
Kylo and Rey are synced up. They've got a mind meld. And I like how she like shoots at him as soon as she sees him, like, what the fuck? You know, and we never get to see like a real POV. It just cuts to their different backgrounds, but we can assume that they physically see each other there and freak out, right?
I actually love the choice that you don't see a POV of like Rey kind of just floating in the space that Kylo's in and vice versa.
It would look goofy.
It would look goofy. And I think this really focuses on the performances of Daisy Ridley and
Adam Driver.
I don't know why I blanked on Adam Driver's name. It really focuses on their performances together. And this goes back to what I was saying. I love the visual storytelling of you're connecting these two together, but in really creative ways. I know later in the movie it's raining where Rey is, and at the end of their connection, he's got like a little water on his hand.
Yeah, and they can see each other because she tells him to put on a shirt at one point in the next Force time call they make.
The worst thing she's ever said. Yeah. The most ridiculous thing that Rey says. And we get like a cool writing tidbit here because it's very important for what Luke does later. He says, he realizes you're not doing this. The effort would kill you.
Yes.
Right. To project yourself across the universe would be a monumental feat that would result in your death. Who taught him that? Luke taught him that. Right. So it's like, we know that Luke knows how to do that from this one little throwaway line. It's neat.
Yeah.
But the lizard nuns are pissed about her shooting the hole through the house. I was cleaning my blaster. And Luke's like, whatever.
I do love how when Luke shows up in the background, he's like, well, what's that about? It's the most dad thing Luke Skywalker's ever done.
He's such a Ted from Stranger Things.
What I do.
And he asked her what she knows of the Force. And again, I love that like 99% of Star Wars fans are going to say, it's a power that lets Jedi control people and make rocks float and stuff, right? Like that's just kind of how I thought of what the Force is. And he's saying, no, it's so much more than that, you know? So we get the whole bit, reach out. So she physically reaches out and then he fucks with her. Like,
yeah, that's
literally,
fun, yeah.
you dumbass.
So funny.
But that's like his sort of like cheeky Yoda moment where he's like having fun with her, but not in like a Yoda exactly way, but like in his own way. So we've joked about that at the beginning, but that is him having some fun here.
Yeah. He's less like happy than Yoda was because he's less spiritually grown.
Yeah.
Well, he's got 800 less years to work on himself, to be fair. But he tells her like the Force does not belong to the Jedi. And but he's horrified. I love this take. Again, this was actually Mikey Newman from FilmJoy that said this, that I was watching for the second time. But there's the scene where the darkness calls to her. Like the planet has like an evil butthole that she's drawn to immediately.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Asshole.
She's like, I eat ass. And he's like, oh,
you never
You didn't even try to resist it.
You need to resist it. I know it's right there, but you need to ignore it.
We all want it.
It calls to me.
And she's just like immediately like, and he's horrified. But I love that like Mikey Newman was saying like, it's because of his antiquated binary thinking that he's horrified by that when like her strength, it's not her being tempted by the dark side. It's the strength that she can kind of dip into both, you know?
Yeah.
She does fight with sort of a Sith anger. And that's something that makes her strong. Like she's actually, I know Grey Jedi is something that a lot of Star Wars fans hate. And it's like, I don't know, what does that even mean? But like, I like the idea that the real world, we all are, you know, imperfect beings that have to embrace both. And
right. It's the Jedi is the point of a Grey Jedi is kind of embracing what makes you a human being, like the bad and the good in it. And you struggle with it, but you know, embracing all of it makes you better than just having a dogmatic view one way or the other.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Exactly. And I really love this scene where Rey's reaching out and she's describing everything, what she sees. It's really beautiful. Like the close-up shots of nature.
Yeah, it's good.
It's such a well done
this is like
of
a
what
better
the Force
description of the Force than they've ever given too. Like it's such a good way to speak about it.
And this is what I talk about, like visual storytelling, because like when Yoda's describing what the Force is in Empire Strikes Back, it's fucking beautiful, and I love his dialogue and like luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. That's fucking beautiful. But like the way the visuals are paired with what Rey's saying when she says like, and something connecting it all. A force, like when she says that, like a force, like I get goosebumps.
It just
like,
hits.
Ooh, yeah. It's really well done.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene, and this is where we find out that he has closed himself off from the Force, and she's like Ben Solo, and he's horrified by that because who was also very strong in the Force, but I wasn't as scared enough of it then as I am now, and kids,
I'm going home.
Yeah, we cut to the fleet. They have 18 hours of fuel left. Chewie's partying with the porgs. Those are the next two scenes that we get. We just cuts to him like they're around the butthole of the planet.
He's like petting himself.
This episode of Streaming Things is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's the first thing you'd do if you had an extra hour in your day?
Sleep.
You would sleep more.
More, yeah.
Okay,
sleep
that's
more.
fair. Some people might go for a run, read an extra book. A lot of us spend our whole lives wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. That's what therapy can do. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so that you can do more of it. You can learn positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. You can get empowered to be the best version of yourself.
You can also nap.
You can also just nap. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, if you've never tried it, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/streamingthings today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/streamingthings.
April is here, the tomb is empty, and it's time to give a special thanks to all of our patrons who keep the lights on at Streaming Things. And I want to give a special shout out to our super patrons for the month of April. Thank you so much to Stanton Valentino, Maddlestat, Bryce Coppin, Susie Callahan, Anthony Corona, Sunshine, Huckleberry Cauliflower, Ashley Hazen, Mike from New Hampshire, Brett X, Emily Scarano, Lil Tickler, Svento7, Jay Scramo, Bluff Pum, AK Ashley Ray, Adam Busby, Wendy O'Laughlin, Jason Hawkins, Conrad, Kaylee Sampson, Rabbit Dog in a Barbie Car, Charlie Friday, Alexis Adler, Peaches, Emmy, Haley B, Joe Velez, John Collins, Amanda King, Trisha Bueller, Sun Loving, Mortal, Suzanne Rode, Jen Robinson, Kalisha Reeves, Aaron Armstrong, Kevin Strother, Ashley Powers, Stephen the Fifth, Casey McCain, and Enza. Thank you all so much from the bottom of our hearts. And with that, let's get back to the episode.
We get to another connection between Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, and Rey. And there's the whole bit of...
It's a Force time call.
Do you know?
You will?
Oh, you do. You know the story.
Put on a shirt.
I really love this scene. The beginning of it is such a great moment, at least for Rey, because it's raining and she's from Jakku and she's going out and she just the joy in her face when she's like, it's water coming out of the sky.
Holy shit.
It was fucking cool.
Yeah, I could trade this for like 3 portions.
Yeah, 3 portions. But yeah, Kylo calls her and he's like, did Luke Skywalker tell you what happened?
Do you know?
Do you know?
Oh, you do?
Oh, you don't know.
But also there's the moment where things turn for her as she calls him a monster. And he says, I am a monster. And she's like, oh.
Well, I really thought that would hurt your feelings.
Yeah. He's like, thank you.
His admission of his flaws, she can see a little bit of light in him through that, right? And then there's water on Kylo's hand when the Zoom call ends.
Great.
Because they didn't pay for the full premium plan. It's the free plan. It only gets you like 40 minutes.
It knocks you off after a little bit.
Yeah. Rose and Finn arrive at Canto Bight. And I don't think this sequence works. I will admit that. However, because it's really awkward that they're spending so much time there and like literal people are being murdered in the Resistance and you're fucking around. But
they're not fucking around, but
there's a moment where Finn's like, I want to gamble.
Well, yes. But like they're there for a reason. They're there to collect a guy.
But
the one thing
it's a weird Soderbergh film. It pushed into a Star Wars movie. But
there's
go on,
less
Steve.
urgency here than I'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah. The things I like least about this movie emanate from this plot line.
Yeah.
Which is like even the way the plot line, the whole impetus of how the friction happens in the scene is because they just park on a beach and some dickhead's like, oh, you can't park on that beach.
I actually think that's hilarious because the whole
Joseph
bit,
Gordon-Levitt is that alien.
Really?
The voice of that alien, yeah.
The whole bit about this is the worst people in the galaxy. And you would think it's the hive of scum and the wretched hive of scum and villainy is what you think when she says that, because that's our own preconceived biases. It's all the rich people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I love that part of it.
And it's just some Karen like, you can't park there. Like he's doing that on purpose. This is a very classist, a class conscious movie in the Star Wars universe that I appreciate.
No, like that's the thing I appreciate about it is I do like the commentary of like there are worse people in the galaxy. It's the people who make the money who allow these conflicts to happen in perpetuity because without these conflicts, they like, they lose their power. Yeah. And it's within their business to arm both sides. I like that. But the way they get there is the weakest part of the movie for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
I do love, however, the drunk dude putting coins in BB-8. That little hobgoblin from Hogwarts.
I fucking love that guy.
This scene is...
Come on.
He burps in his face.
This scene's also the most Harry Potter that Star Wars ever is. Between that dude and the Lothiers, like those are total Harry Potter
I think that's why I don't like that.
And the CGI is not great when they're riding the meerkat camels.
Yeah. But I do love the opening shot of the casino that like... what do you call it? That sliding shot
when it ends on Finn?
over the tables and ending on Finn. Like that's
great.
That's a direct callback to the very first Best Picture award winner for the Oscars, a movie called Wings from 1927. There's a shot like that, shot in 1927. So if go and Google, or I'm sorry, go on YouTube and search Wings tracking shot. It's fucking amazing that they're able to do that in 1927 because it's a gorgeous shot, and I love that they do that little bit of a throwback to it in this scene. It's one of my favorite shots of the movie.
What a picture!
What a moving picture.
They're looking for the guy with the red plum bloom. They see what is it? Fathers.
Fathiers.
Fathiers.
I think I called them Lothiers before.
I think it's
Fathiers.
It's Fathiers.
Fathiers?
Anyway, we cut to Rey practicing with her staff and then a lightsaber. She pulls it out of her bag. Let me fuck with this thing. And then she almost kills the lizard nuns when she accidentally cuts the rock in half. And it's a really cool sequence that's fun, but also shows the danger in the Jedi themselves, right? Like how dangerous they are. In effect, like what they do to the common man. I do think it's symbolic in that moment.
Fuck up rocks.
And you see Luke watching her like, oh, she does look pretty cool. Maybe I should train her. And then he's like, oh yeah, this is what we do to the universe when we get involved. It's kind of his reminder. Nah, that was a nice rock.
I don't think they like me much.
Yeah,
Can't imagine why.
And he tells her the legacy of the Jedi is failure. And then he tells her the story of the temple that he tried to build. But he leaves out the part where he thought about murdering Kylo, right?
Well, just for like a second, just as a treat.
And Kylo vanished with a handful of students and presumably killed the rest.
And presumably they became the Knights of Ren, those other students, right?
Maybe.
Where else would they come from? And where did they go?
I don't know. Where did they come from? Where did they go?
Kylo, Joe.
I love the line that Luke has. I really do like Mark Hamill's performances as curmudgeon-y old
I think he's
Luke
going
Skywalker.
places. His career is going to blossom.
That kid's going places. His line delivery of like, all because I was Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, a legend. Like the way he says it of just being completely disgusted with his own legacy and who he is. It's really well done.
Did either of you, probably not, watch Mike Flanagan's The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix?
No, I never got to it. I wanted to.
Don't know what it is. Sorry.
It's a horror TV show that adapts a number of Edgar Allan Poe properties into one conglomeration. Mike Flanagan is a modern master of horror.
He's the guy who did
Haunting of Hill House. Midnight,
okay. Yeah.
Midnight Mass,
I watched that one,
Dr. Sleep. This show is incredible. I love it. It's beautiful. But also it stars Mark Hamill as this. So there's a billionaire, big pharma tycoon and his lawyer, who's also a guy who will get rid of the bodies, assassinate people, coordinate everything, is the curmudgeonly old Mark Hamill. And it's fucking great. Everything that people hate about his character in Last Jedi is just like dialed up to 10x in this character in House of Usher. And he's wonderful. Anyway,
nice.
Just want to shout that out. Great show. But Mark Hamill's awesome. It's the best like live action thing I've ever seen him do. Because he's more of like an incredible voice actor to me in my mind nowadays. But anywho, one of the rebel ships goes down. They're starting to get picked off. They really need Finn and Rose to hurry.
Godspeed, rebels.
Unfortunately, they're in a jail cell with Benicio del Toro, who plays a character I think named DJ. And I only know that because of the subtitles. But he overhears them.
I was trying to do some research because I was like, is there any expanded lore on this character? And there is a comic book, but it didn't look too.
He's pretty cool, but also weird.
But his name DJ comes from his catchphrase, which is "Don't join," which is what he tells Finn.
Stay free.
Yeah, and I'm like, ew, I hate that.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb. But he's kind of a stoner because he's like, I do first order codage. You need some codage, dude?
He immediately bros out with BB-8.
You want to need some code breakage? Yeah, so he busts him out and BB-8's fucking him up and he goes, what's your story, Roundy? I kind of love that line. Like he wants to be his friend more than them by far.
I know this is like super cheesy, but when BB-8 like starts shooting the coins at the guards and then he goes, he like blows, like does like a little gun blow on it. Like, oh, fucking love BB-8. He's the best.
That guy put so many more coins in him than I thought, by the way.
I know.
That dude was trying to
really.
He was at it for hours. Yeah.
God damn it.
I can't win.
Like, how big is the void within that ball?
I know, right?
Hey, man.
A lot of space in there.
Why do you want to know that, creeper?
I'm into roundies.
I'm into roundies. Rian Johnson in the edit, he was asking like the editors of Force Awakens for like tips on how to edit The Last Jedi. And they're like, always film a cutaway of BB-8. You will not regret it. In every scene, film a cutaway of BB-8 reacting to things. I just thought
that's a good move.
That's great
goddamn,
advice.
that is a smart advice. I'm going to make a movie that doesn't even star BB-8, and I'm going to film a cutaway of him.
Also, canonically, are anyone ever referred to as cops in the Star Wars universe except in this moment from Finn? Or is that like a direct societal, like our real world?
That's a good point. I don't think
Very interesting. It was
I
like,
don't think up to this
the cops are almost here. I was like, fucking what?
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess we've never had well, like aside from like the Bespin security guards, there's never been. I don't think there's ever been another force besides the Empire or and the Naboo Guard.
It's just so weird for him to be like, cheese it, it's the fuzz.
Yeah.
Well, they're like different like law enforcement entities, but I don't think they're
they're not
called
called cops,
They're
though,
called
yeah.
like peacemakers or like
security
Imperial
or-
security guards, stuff
right.
like that.
And he calls them cops.
I think there's a police force. Like the word police is used, but not cops. At some
Well,
point.
Finn's like a cab and more Rose, but they find the meerkat camels.
I do hate this part where like they break out and the guards are like, where'd they go? Oh, this manhole cover that they didn't close.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, come on, guys.
It's smelled in there.
Close that.
The stable boys almost snitch, but they smile when they find out that they're with the resistance, and they stampede through all of the Richies, destroy the town, and DJ and BB-8 escape or rescue them. But this whole bit where Rose is like, well, it wasn't a complete waste. We got to destroy that town. All of your friends are dying.
Yeah.
You should be sadder.
Do you remember when we watched this? The screen was too freaking dark, and we couldn't see like a large portion of this chase scene.
Like the
we were,
bulbs at the theater needed changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
it
the worst.
was just like dialed down too far. So we're like watching it, like we can't see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah, that's rough.
I forget what movie it was, but Andy and I had to leave a theater because he knew it shouldn't. Like I probably wouldn't have. I would have just thought the movie sucked.
Yeah.
And Andy was like,
dude.
no, the bulbs need changed, and one of the speakers is broken. We need to get out of here. So we drove to Marymount from Newport to just watch. I forget what movie it was, but it was a totally different experience.
When I saw Frozen Empire a few weeks back, the bass on the speaker was making it buzz. And I thought it was part of the movie at first, but then it just kept doing it. And I was like, there's no way that this is part of this movie. But that was the first time that I had like heard like a malfunction in
Yeah, it sucks, man.
Dude, I can pick up a low bulb like that.
Yeah.
I also sit down in the theater when they start the pre-roll. I'm like, nope, gonna talk to someone. This bulb needs changing yesterday.
You put your old hat on. And
Yeah, like I'll fucking do it. I know how to do it. Show me that bulb.
You're
I'll
basically DJ.
I'll put on the gloves and the apron. Let me at it. Actually, I don't know if modern projectors need that because you had to like almost put like
they
a
were
bomb kit
xenon
on.
bulbs, right?
Yeah, because they could explode
Yeah.
and stuff.
You go full
Useless gas.
Benicio, and you're like, you guys need some bulbage?
What's your
I got
story,
you.
Roundy?
Yeah, what's your And she's like, excuse me? Any hoozle. So they set free the meerkat camels, and they resign to their fate, their death. And yet BB-8 and DJ rescue DJ.
DG8?
It's just DG8 rescue them. That's their relationship name.
Yeah.
Ray and Kylo connect a third time. This time he's shirtless. And
Dips
she's
out.
like, can you put something on? I can see your nipples. He's like, no, stare at them. Let the past die.
Good nips.
Suck it if you have to.
Good nip.
Good nips. But Luke, he tells him Luke was going to kill him. And then from his point of view, this is why I was upset. I woke up to my daddy holding his the green one. We haven't seen that one in a while.
Yeah. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
He's like, also, I hate sand. I don't know why. But you're
genetic.
softer than sand, my lady. And then, this is when he says, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be. He's talking to the franchise, baby. And then Rey goes straight to the devil's butthole. She gets sucked in. And we get this gorgeous, cool sequence where with the infinite Rey and the snaps, it either works for you or it doesn't. But I think it's like the height of cinema. It's fucking amazing.
And we think we're going to see her
She's toying with you.
Obi-Wan Kenobi reveal.
I'm looking for my parents.
I was the parent all along. I raised myself.
That's true. Yeah. She really did. But then Kylo comforts her, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm nobody. He's like, I think you're cool.
Yeah. Tell me about the butthole.
Slower.
Tell me more about the butthole.
Luke catches them about to touch. He's like, no, and like force
they do
explodes
touch.
the whole. Well, yes,
Yeah.
they do. Class.
Lightly touch.
There's this really small scene, so it's
He
actually
busts in the room and Kylo's in there like,
good nips.
stop.
There's this really small touch when Luke comes in and goes stop, and he blows up the hut.
Yeah.
He blows up the hut, and it's like a bubble of the Force where like it takes like 2 or 3 seconds before the rain starts falling on them.
Yeah.
because his Force powers
right.
like shot the rain away from the hut as well. It's a really
nice touch.
small minor touch, but it's super cool.
It's
And the
dope.
caretakers are so mad
I know,
about that. too.
So then she chases Luke down. He's like, did you try to murder him? And he's like, stop. None of your business. So she fucking knocks him over with her stick. She's like, old man. And then they fight. He uses like a cane to stop her, but then she pulls out
Lightsaber.
the
Actual
lightsaber,
yeah.
and he like force stops himself from falling and then gently sets himself on the steps. It's super dope. And then we get Luke's side of the story. I was gonna kill him.
Which is like
panicked.
actually pretty close to what she had heard. It's just the perception of
It's unfortunate that Kylo didn't ask, what are you doing? You
Yeah,
know?
right.
What's going on?
Yeah, he's like, I reached into his mind and thought he'd already been he's already been turned by Snoke.
Yeah.
And then this is when he utters one of my favorite lines that I think is to the audience. This is not going to go the way you think. She wants to turn Kylo, and then she offers him the lightsaber one last time, and she's like, well, then he's who we need then, and she leaves him, and we can see the Falcon take off.
It's that whole like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed thing where it's like, that's ultimately what gets him, because he's like, God damn it, she's right.
Never meet your heroes. Well, it's in Yoda too, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
He goes to go all Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
Little do we know that she's already stolen all the Jedi texts.
Yeah.
We find that at the end of the movie. So he's going to go burn them all down. Yoda appears. I love that. He's like,
I love this scene.
Luke accidentally actually bitches out.
Yeah.
And Yoda's like, burn it. I don't give a fuck. Have you ever actually read them? And you can tell Luke hasn't.
No.
Which is great. Page turners. They were not. I fucking love that.
I mean, I've read like Jedi text for dummies, but not the actual source.
The greatest teacher failure is.
This scene is maybe one of my favorite scenes in Star
really
Wars.
good.
It's so
Totally.
good.
Yeah.
They got the old puppet.
They got a puppet that actually looks like Yoda.
Yeah. It's got that little face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I love it. That little where it's
They
like lips curling.
almost verge too much on that, but then they back off a bit. So it's like just the right amount.
I love it.
And then Yoda's is spitting so much great game in this. The scene where he talks about pass on what you have learned, failure, especially failure. It's the best
give me
teacher.
chills in advance.
Yeah.
And then when you see, it's
This is one of those
shot.
moments where I did that.
I tear up in the scene every time. It's that shot. Specifically, it's a shot where you see Yoda and Luke sitting next to each other. You see the tree burning in the background, and the two of them together is such a powerful visual. But then just when he says we are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters. I think is maybe one of the best lines in any Star Wars movie. Period.
And Luke
hits
feels
me every time.
And Luke feels like old Luke in this moment too. Like it feels like we're back in episode 6 and he's like Luke again.
Well, it's part of that Yoda, missed you, Mr. Skywalker.
Right.
Missed you, have I?
Yeah.
You're so silly. Never in the moment.
Because as cool as Luke is, Luke didn't ever really have a real upbringing in the Jedi Order. He's kind of lost in the woods in a way.
Sure, yeah.
He was never going to be as good of an instructor as Yoda. So
can you imagine him training Kylo and all those other kids? And he's trying to get them to give him piggyback rides and stuff. This is how I learned. And they're like, what the fuck is going on?
Uncle Luke, I don't want to do this. Sorry, man. You have to do a backflip with me on you. I don't think I have the strength to do it.
All right, kids, we're doing handstands again today.
Aw.
I'm going to steal all your snacks.
I don't know why I imagine the 6-year-old Kylo Ren still sounds like adult Adam Driver.
Yeah. Do you have any nachos?
Bad move.
Can we have any chicken nuggies?
Dino nuggies. We cut to Rose and Finn with DJ. He asks for the Haitian smelt as payment, but he's actually a good guy. He needs to use that because it's a good conductor, we find out.
Yeah, it's Rose has the other part of the necklace that her sister Paige had.
Yeah, it's a yin-yang looking thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get caught while they're in there at the last second. And then ultimately DJ betrays them.
Did you not mention the greatest villain in Star Wars history?
Phasma?
BB Hate?
BB,
Yes.
You mean BB9E?
No, BB Hate. I refuse to call it by its real name. It's BB Hate.
Well, that's I was skipping through a lot of stuff, but we cut back and forth a lot where the Alliance is down to the main cruiser with critical levels of fuel. There's so many good lines in this. The more good lines than in any other Star Wars movie by a mile.
Yep.
But Holdo tells Poe, I think it's the conversation where it comes from, but she says, hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night, which is a line that she's quoting Leia in that moment. But that's, oh my God, that's a good fucking line. Holy shit. That's like Shakespeare.
Hark.
But Poe is mad at Holdo. And he's like, you're a fucking dirty bitch. So she locks him up. And
can I just ask, at this point, do you think she knows about Crate?
This is her plan the whole time. And she wants him to just not have to know everything, to trust the chain of command, not be a hero.
I think this is my biggest problem with the plot. I don't know why she doesn't
she could cut him in on that.
Well, cut the whole crew in. Like, what would be the holdout? Like, let's just tell the crew, like, we are on our way to Crate. Here's what we do. When we get within range, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Instead of like creating this confusion and panic and stress, she could have just like avoided the mutiny thing by just being transparent. I'm not saying that would have been good for this movie, like it'd have been terrible terms for the movie and the reveal, action and stuff. But realistically, like, it should have gone down that way.
I agree with you, but it's important for the character arc of
I know,
Poe,
and that's why like I understand what they're doing. It's frustrating because I'm like, it's dumb. Like, if you realistically think about this part's dumb.
That's why, like, I remember in our first review back in 2017, I was saying, like, because I agree it is kind of dumb. I can see where someone can make the argument like, oh, she doesn't know Poe. He's been getting people killed. She probably doesn't trust him, like, to like bring him into the inner circle. Sure. But I think the story would be better served. I think if you take out the Canto Bight scene, you keep everybody on those ships, and the Rebel story is there's like a spy on the Rebel ship that is giving them the coordinates of the fleet, and that's how they're following them. And so it becomes this like, we don't know who to trust in the Rebel Alliance. Yeah, who's the alien? And I always thought that would be a better way to get around that issue, but I don't know. And
I know we haven't really discussed this, but like the whole concept of like them like staying just out of range to avoid being shot down. Is the entire First Order behind them? Is that what we're supposed to believe?
If not the whole First Order, then like the main fighting force. Yeah.
Why doesn't, like, they're all like fueled up and fine, but they can't catch up to him on impulse. So why don't they just like a few of them lightly jump ahead and then backtrack? Because they could realistically know where the rest of the fleet is, so they could just surround them from different sides and just like backtrack into them.
Can you lightly lightspeed though?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about space is it's 3-dimensional. So no matter where you jump, they could like go up and go that way, and go down and go that way. I think they could always like turn. But
do you need the whole entire fleet on one side? Like, why couldn't you just like spit them out and
they're also converge? Overly confident. They're arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
Keep up the barrage. Sure. We've got them. They're not going to go anywhere. It's Hux too. That's the leader, and he's a very flawed thinker.
If there was Captain Kennedy,
Kennedy would have done that.
Kennedy would have been like, let's put 4 fighters in front of him.
Yeah, it's so fucking obvious.
I've got shit to do.
I know it's a movie, and you're not supposed to dissect it this way, but that was like,
I for one would never harp on one small thing like that. So I think it's ridiculous.
Fair enough.
And just because I love this movie, I'm not going to do that.
That's fine.
I think these are all
the turntables have turned.
I think this is a completely fair and just criticism that I think isn't very well explained in this movie.
No, it's not.
But then there's the line, hope is like the sun, and if you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night, and you shouldn't care about any other flaws, because that's one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. Rose and Finn are so close. Kylo has Rey, right? He's like, he captured her. She came to save him, though. DJ's doing his thing. He's breaking codes. And it actually does some cool, we got to go so much faster, but there's some cool bits where he's like, does some code. You're like, what would code breaking look like? And when he like puts the crack in the shield and he like sticks paper clips in holes, and you're like, okay, he's doing stuff.
Yeah.
This is better than most movies do for hacking. He's like, I'm in.
I like it better than like a DJ just gets up to a keyboard and click and clacks. He's got like a whole sleeve of like random pins and bobs and bits.
Cool,
he's like picking locks, digital locks.
Yeah,
you know,
it's fun.
Poe stages the mutiny that we were talking about. You know, he's like, fuck it, I'm the hero. I'm the Han Solo analog. We got to do stuff. Rey tells Kylo, it's tearing me apart, Lisa, basically.
I love that reference.
And she says, you will not bow before Snoke. I've seen the future. And he's like, I've seen the future. We fuck. And she's like, I don't think that's true. And then whatever.
One can hope.
Yeah. But she, you know, he tells her, I'll help you, which is really neat. And he's like, I saw who your parents are. And we'll drop that little tidbit in in the audience. It's like, oh God, I'm so hard. I'm going to love it when they say Kenobi.
Yeah.
We cut to the fucking throne room. We see Snoke in the flesh, the beautiful art direction of this sequence.
That throne room's so cool.
I will say it does look like a Star Trek TNG season.
You wish Star Trek was as cool as this throne room.
Just like a red psych in the background.
It is, but that's all you need.
It looks great. It's just that's what it reminds me of.
It reminds me of like an old like Kurosawa film, and that's what I love about it.
Throne of Blood or something. It's so good.
Oof, yeah, and I did write in here like the line like darkness rises and light to meet it. Skywalker, I assume. Like Snoke monologuing, he's so good. Andy Serkis' performance is so fantastic. I did write down he has such a big fucking head. We were talking earlier before we started recording. Phil and I were like, is Snoke supposed to be a human? Like, we know he's a clone, just body of whatever.
But what species?
But is he supposed to be a clone of a human species? Because his head is like 3 times the size of Rey's when he like brings her to her. He's just an enormous dude.
I bet he's stinky.
Oh, dude, he ain't showering.
No.
He's just in his bathroom. He just woke up that day. He's like, I guess we'll torture the girl.
He just puts on a new gold outfit every day. He doesn't wash.
No.
But Finn and the crew are being all sneaky. We realize the Haitian smelt is to be a conductor, and he gives it back to her. Holdo pulls the Uno reverse and gets out of the mutiny.
No, I mutiny.
I'm mutinying the mutiny. But Finn gets caught at the last second. It's fucking Phasma and BB-9E or BB-8.
BB-8.
Thank you.
And then
proper term.
Somebody's pounding on the bridge door, and where Poe is like about to fucking jump to lightspeed.
C-3PO dropping some great lines here where he's like, I want to be a part of a mutiny. It's not ethical. And then
it's not part of my protocol.
Admiral Holdo was looking for you. Oh yeah, we spoke.
I'm not even going to say anything. Yeah, good plan.
Yeah,
good plan.
Yeah.
Go with that instinct. But Leia shows up and busts in. Yeah, she's like, Poe, you done it now. Boom.
She stuns him, blasts him with a little
stun gun
circle thingy. Yeah, it's like a circle thing.
That's the same style of stun that she gets hit with in the first movie.
Ooh.
He's like, I know this is going to suck, but
it's happened to me before. And there's the whole bit where Holdo's like, I like him. He's spunky. He's trouble.
Yeah.
And Leia's like, I know, I do too. But they have this whole great back and forth where Holdo has like, I have to stay behind. And they almost say, may the force be with you at the same time. And Leia's like, go, you go. I've said it enough. I've been saying this shit for 40 years. It's really cute. And especially since she had recently passed away, it makes it like really... and you love Laura Dern, so like this is like an emotionally charged scene. But Snoke is pulling Rey closer, and this is when he gives that monologue about the equal and light would rise to meet the darkness. We thought it would be Luke Skywalker, but no, it's you. And he says it was my plan all along to connect you guys because I know Kylo's a bitch.
Yeah,
and Kylo's sitting back there like, hey,
and you're too dumb, and you took the bait.
He's dumb and ugly. He's got such a little dick. He would never. And Kylo's like,
he's got great nips though.
Yeah. One thing I have to say about the Son of Darkness is nips. Flawless.
So he begins to like mine Rey for knowledge excruciatingly. She's not taken to that well. The real plan back for the rebels is to head to the mineral planet Crate. And there's no seeming like a hero. Sometimes you got to do unsexy things to save the world, you know, or to do what's right. Hux slaps the shit out of Finn. It's really funny and petty and for no reason at all.
I took time off my day in the bridge to come do this.
And DJ has double crossed them. He's a very cynical person. They blow you up today, you'll blow them up tomorrow. Don't join. DJ, stay free.
Don't join.
And I hate that so much. Don't join.
So at this point, they begin shooting the transports.
I can't tell how if I like this or not, but when Finn's like, "You're wrong about how you think," and DJ's like, "Sure, maybe." No,
I like it. That's how.
I can't tell if I like it because in a way it's kind of like, yeah, maybe I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, that's how detached of a rogue he is. He's like, honestly, I didn't put much thought into it. I'm just really selfish, you know?
Yeah.
But he's like also okay to be like, I could be, you know, but I've made this decision.
Do you think he got off the ship before all the shit goes down?
I do.
Okay.
He's just
In my head canon, he's breaking into lock.
Alive and well.
He's got all the coins he took out of BB-8 earlier.
He definitely code breakered into my heart.
Yeah.
So
He took BB-9E and they're
BB-8.
throwing it up through the galaxy.
BB hate.
That's what I like to think. But then Rey's trying to force grab the saber, and Snoke is so strong in the force that it just like circles around and back to him, and he's like, "That's adorable." So then she grabs Kylo's saber.
His show of power is so awesome. At one point, when she like runs at him, he just kind of like points to his right and shoots her off to the side. Like he's just so cool.
Strong.
But I love how fucking filled with rage and spunky she is, because she's got a lot of darkness too, and she keeps trying. And Snoke's like, she's awesome, you know, like. But
You
he's also,
really are a Jedi.
But yeah, so he knows that there's no point in trying to turn her, so he tells Kylo to kill her. And the whole bit works for me. Where I now sense resolve, because he's mentally tricking him, because I can feel the saber turning, and he's about to ignite
his while he's doing the
force turning the one on his chair. He ignites it and kills his true enemy.
And then he kills Snoke, which is such a good subversion of expectation.
When that we looked at each other like, what the hell? Like, did they really just fall off the bat?
Oh, I remember this so well because Kylo ignites the lightsaber. It gets a Snoke, and he pulls it and it like cuts him in half, and it tumbles off his chair, and he catches, Rey catches the lightsaber. When that happened, I remember Phil going, like fist pumping.
I was really into it.
Yeah.
Visceral.
Really into it.
And then that leads to the music swelling. Rey and Kylo look at each other with like resolve, like we doing this, we're doing this.
And then one of the best fucking fights in Star Wars history.
Literally, I think I'm putting it down right now.
Put it down.
This is the best shot in Star Wars when they go back to back and the Red Guards it's slow-mo run up to them, and then the speed finally catches up. Fucking love that shot so much.
It's epic. Really good. It's epic. It's fucking insane. They help each other, and we get the whole bit where he like turns it on for a second and like face fucks that dude. And she does the Arya Stark bit where she drops the saber and switches hands. There's back-to-back amazingness. And it was in this moment that I knew I love this movie more than any other Star Wars movie.
I think this is the moment for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
But so that whole thing happens, and then
it's dope.
Everybody creams, and then we move on. There's still time to save the fleet, and she's like, "Let's go. We got to help the guys now. You're on my team, right?" And he's like, "You're on my team, right?" And then so then they're back to being at odds because he wants to be the supreme leader now.
It's heartbreaking because for a brief moment they work together, and you're like, "Yes, work together," and then he just.
We are all Rey in that moment.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's so sad. And then he's like, I want you to rule together. But then he has that bit where like, I know the truth about your parents. They're dead. They're filthy drunk traders. They sold you for money and now they're in a pauper's grave.
Yeah.
You're no one in the story, but not to me. Like it's
beautiful. It gives me chills. I cry, but it's also, again, it's to the audience.
It's a little bit like
Snoke, Skywalker, Sith, Jedi, Rebels, let it all die. And then Disney was like, just kidding, guys. Buy the toys, please.
It feels like he's kind of a shitty like boyfriend, though. He was like, no one cares about you, but I do. That's why you have to stay with me. It kind of gave me that vibe.
Oh, so yeah, he's
I don't love it as
he might be manipulating her a little bit, but I don't think so. In order to manipulate, you have to be somebody who kind of has an intention, and he's so emotional. He's so without a plan. Like he's feeling it in that moment. Like. Now, I'm not saying it's not toxic because it's definitely a toxic ship.
Toxic as fuck.
But I don't think he's like snoking her or anything. I think he like believes that like you're nobody. I'm pretty famous.
Maybe.
He's lonely too, But yeah, you're totally correct to call that out. But we get to Holdo, who's angry, and she's like, fuck it. She gets in the driver's seat. And this is right after the throne room fight. We get one of the coolest sci-fi things that we've ever seen while Rey and Kylo are tug-of-warring her lightsaber. And Phasma's like, we're not going to laser slice you. We're going to slow cut you with a tiny laser axe thing. She does the lights.
Get the axe dudes. I know they've been waiting for years to have a purpose, and they're like, "Oh, we put on our armor today."
And Holdo does this light speed attack.
Yeah.
Right as this lightsaber explodes, and
the sound cuts out too.
Oh, it's. I remember in the theater, I'm so dumb. I was like, "What happened?"
I vividly remember. I don't know if it was the first time I saw it in theaters or the second time I saw it in theaters, but when it goes. When the light and the sound drops, you just hear one guy go, "Nice."
Was that ours? Was it ours? Yeah.
Nice.
It is nice. It's fucking incredible. She destroys the whole fleet by like kamikaze light speed jumping into them. And nobody's ever thought of that in any space sci-fi movie ever before, I don't think.
Yeah.
To like go, jump to light speed as a weapon and kill yourself. Like nobody's ever done that before. It's fucking incredible.
And I know there are people online who are like, "Oh, it's so fucking dumb. Why didn't they just light speed into the Death Star?" Brr, 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 brr. And it's like, because it's a kamikaze mission, and that's not what the Rebel Alliance typically is all about, dude.
Yeah. And would that even work if you had an X-Wing do that to the Death Star?
The
I'm
scale of the scale of the Death Star too is like way bigger than these ships. So
yeah, for real. I mean, could it happen? Sure. But like in the moment, I don't think anyone's like, all right, guys, it's really big. How about we just zip on through it? Yeah.
I don't know why everybody's acting like that's a flaw in this movie and not just something someone should have thought of before Rian Johnson.
Right.
You know, which is what I'm saying. Like
exactly.
Like it's an incredible thing to think of.
And it's one of the coolest shots ever. Just like, I mean, the sound going out and then just that black and white, you see the trail kind of go through the big ship, but then like the debris of it's like also going through the smaller Star Destroyers
like,
as well. Like
splitting in slow-mo. It's fucking great.
So fucking rad.
And Holdo's okay, right?
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
Right, she's with Akbar.
She just spacewalks back to the...
She grabs Akbar from space, who's still been holding his breath that whole time.
At the end of the credits, it says Vice Admiral Holdo will return with Admiral Akbar.
Yep. Yeah. And Phasma's in that sleigh custom job suit, and she tries to kill Ren. And he's like,
dude.
She's like, you scum. And he's like, rebel scum.
Rebel scum.
Boom. And I know you guys said that it was
Come on, Chrome Dome.
She got kind of Boba Fetted. I think she got a lot more screen time than Boba Fett.
And she's also like at peak cool in this scene.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wish she was around more because I think that character you can get so much more out of.
Why is BB-8 in an ATST?
Okay. I'm glad you said this. I don't know the answer to your question. I don't know. But I think the biggest thing that the scene fails is that I really wanted the climactic battle between BB-8 and BB-8, and we are just robbed of it. And I'm mad. I'm mad about it.
That is true.
Two titans of Star Wars clashing together. That's all I want.
He probably just stepped on him in the ATST. I like how he like blows the whole cap off of it too. So he's just like, I'm in here. Happy beeps.
Yeah.
The Finn and Rose are like, what?
Yeah. Need a ride? Kylo tries to command Hux, and Hux is like, no, my daddy's dead and I'm sad right now. And he's like, the Supreme Leader's dead, or is it me, bitch?
Did you see that really cool scene where Hux is in that shot where Hux sees Kylo on the ground and you see him slowly reach to grab his blaster to like shoot him?
Yeah.
And then when he starts stirring, he's like, eh.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it's this really subtle thing where Hux is going for his blaster to shoot him while he's down, but when he wakes up, he's like, ugh, fuck. And he puts he holsters it back.
Better not.
Yeah. Hux is such a little
bullets.
Starscream.
Yeah.
Long live the Supreme Leader.
And then we get the Salt Planet action. And I love the guy who's like, just to make it clear to everybody, licks the ground. Salt. The crystal foxes are one of the coolest creatures in the whole.
So that scene where the guy licks and goes salt.
Yeah.
Well, first off, when we watched it for the first time, I remember that got Phil. Like, Phil turned to me and started laughing. But the dude behind him in that shot is Gareth Edwards, director of Rogue One.
And he's also licking the ground.
Like,
but
We were talking off screen like
Sodium.
We really hope that, you know how the ice cream maker guy has this whole lore, like now he's Wilro Hood. We're hoping that Salt guy is like, what did you call him? Like
Sergeant Pepper.
Sergeant Pepper. And they're like, oh, Sergeant Pepper, what are you going to do after with the war? He's like, I don't know. I'm probably going to get back together with my old bandmates, the Lonely Hearts Club Band, and go touring.
But like, he's got a whole backstory. He's got an action figure. He's got a whole bit of lore just because he's got one line and it's Salt.
Salt.
That's Salt Bay.
Yeah.
In Rise of Skywalker, you see him in the background doing this to a stormtrooper who's like, no.
But the crystal foxes are so cool, man. I love those
They
guys.
are neat. They're cute.
Finn, BB-8, and Rose crash into the hangar. They close the big blast shield door, and it's like, oh, this is all that's left of the Resistance. Oh my God! So they decide to send distress signals to the Outer Rim using Leia's personal code because she knows I've got a lot of pull throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
But then, oh no, the battering ram cannon shows up. It's a miniaturized Death Star tech. There's no other ways out. There's only one way in, one way out. Poe is full rebel pilled now. He's like, we got to go out and kick some fucking ass and buy time. And Rose is like, I am so wet for that idea, Finn. And then the dude licks the ground. There's a little bit of a divergence there. So they come out in those rust buckets and
rickety ass ships.
Press the green button to drop down your ski shaft.
Mono ski.
Yeah, the mono ski. That's what it is. Those things
Which
are cool,
is like engineered specifically to get the
red plumage.
Dust. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate it. That's one of the coolest shots in all of it.
Honestly, I'm okay with it because the visual was so
it's fun.
Neat and creative.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the Falcon is here, bitch.
Man, they hate that ship.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. They do.
And they pulled out the classic dun 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 dun. Oh man! And Chewie gets his moment because Chewie's flying it, and so he
turns out he's good. He's not just a co-pilot.
No, and even
he's got main character energy.
Who was on the guns then?
Ray.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was on the ship still. Sorry.
Ray's on the guns.
There's that point when
she's honestly the best gunner they've ever seen.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
She doesn't even miss ever.
No, Finn could have learned a thing or two from her.
Yeah. And then Finn's like, fuck it. I'm going to do suicide. I want to be a holdo in this moment.
I'm doing my own holdo maneuver.
I'm going full holdo. I won't let them win. I'm not going to do it. But then Rose rams him and saves his life and says, that's how we're going to win. Not by fighting what we hate, but by saving what we love. And
kiss.
And then passes out.
I think that's a really good. A lot of people complain about this because, like, why would she stop her?
The comments on my Letterboxd review are currently like 7 people saying that's the worst scene in history when Rose rams him. I don't even know what they mean by that.
And I mean, like, functionally, like, I can see where someone would say, like, no, you let him sacrifice himself. But like for for Finn's character, that is such a good little punctuation on his character arc because this is a guy who's driven, I think, more than anybody in this cast. Like that character is driven. Self-preservation, yes, but also his hatred and fear of the First Order and the fact that like the only way I can take them down is by killing myself. And her saying like we're not fighting what we hate, we're fighting for what we love is like, yeah, that's what the rebellion should be.
And not only that, but she lost her sister to a kamikaze move.
Yeah.
We just saw what happened to Holdo. And so we're primed to be like, God damn, they're all going out like this. And Rose is like, no, I'm done. I'm not losing anybody else. We'll find a different way. I think it makes perfect sense.
I would also like to say I ship Finn and Rose.
You ship Finn and Rose?
Yeah, I ship Finn and Rose. They're cute.
You like that little kiss?
Yeah. Not as much as I ship Finn and Poe, but I'm with you. If they could have a throuple, I'm down with that.
I'm not that invested. I just thought it was cute.
It's adorable. It's adorable.
They're cute. I mean, I love Rose.
Aside, it's adorable.
I'm going to say this right now, and I think it's okay if I say that this is the official streaming thing stance on Star Wars, Kit. And you can tell me if I'm
safe
wrong.
Space, I know that.
But anybody who has any negative thing to say about Rose or Kelly Marie Tran is an enemy of this state. All right.
That's true.
Fuck all of you who harassed that poor woman. Yeah. She deserved none of that.
Well, anytime you harass an actual person for playing a fictional character, no matter who it is, you're a real piece of shit.
You're a tool. Full stop.
Nowhere does that happen more often or more egregiously than in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Ahmed Best and
Jake Lloyd,
Hayden Christensen until like 2 years ago.
Right.
But yes, no one is coming to save them. Oh no, except Luke. He comes through the back door. Master Luke. And we get the C-3PO.
And he looks like he projects himself to look like he did before
he made the boo-boo.
Went out.
Before he made the boo-boo.
You got a haircut, a shave.
Yeah. It looks like he shaved and cut his hair and then showed up, and that's what took him so long.
Yeah.
I got to get ready.
And there's the whole bit where Kylo's like beside himself with rage. Fire all the guns at that one dude. And more. Hux is like, more. He's good, bro.
Do you think you got
That's enough.
But it wasn't good. And he does like the no dust off my shoulder.
Dude. as a
badass.
fanboy for Luke Skywalker, when he did that, I was like, I don't even care how this doesn't make sense. Like as I'm watching it in the moment, like I knew there was something up, but I didn't know what it was.
Lost their mind. It was like Marvel Endgame clapping when he was still alive and brushed his shoulder off.
Ah, yes.
And it's Ryan being like, here you go, guys. This is what you thought I was going to do. Here you go. And there's a cool reason behind this. But for right now, just enjoy him being invincible.
Yeah.
And a really small thing that I think plays into why I believe this is the best visual storytelling Star Wars has ever been is like he's walking on the planet, not leaving any footsteps.
Clever.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Because all the red, Kylo has all the red streaks when he walks and it cuts to Luke's feet and he's not leaving any.
That's a good point.
It's a good indicator. And I love the line where Kylo's like, you're here to turn me back to the light side.
You're here to save my soul.
No. I'm not. I'm here to create a diversion so they can get out the back.
And then Poe realizes no, he's doing this for a reason. He's trying to give us time
Completion
to escape.
of his arc.
Because Finn's like, oh no, we gotta help him. It's him versus the whole army. We gotta go out there. And Poe's like, nah, man.
Nope.
Again, why didn't Luke just say like, I'm gonna go create a diversion? Like it took like they could have used that extra time to like get gone. But they had to like piece it together.
He knows Leia's there.
Just
He knows
communication is key, guys, and no one communicates in this.
Leia's got it, dude.
It would be as cool of a legend. Like,
I know. It's just
He's like, this is the last fucking thing I'm going to do. I'm not going to telegraph it on my way out. He's like ridiculous.
It's mostly like Luke's like, I don't know anybody here.
Leia.
This is awkward.
His sister's there.
He talks to Leia.
Yeah, he could have said just like, hey.
Off camera, he told her.
And he winks to
Well, then why
C-3PO.
didn't she say it?
Because she's like, I need Poe to complete his character arc.
You can't,
Christ.
if you want to be a good leader, you can't just force feed your students everything. You got to let them learn it.
Oh, brother.
Okay, by your logic, in A New Hope, why didn't Kenobi just go, Luke, Darth Vader's your dad?
Okay.
That would have saved
he
a
did
lot
say
of
it
time.
from a certain point of view.
That's true. Yeah. He said it. He said as much as he could.
Yeah.
But they need to follow the crystal critters. But oh no, rocks are blocking the path. And then, of course, she gets to lift rocks, what she thought the Force was, but learned it was much more. But also it is things that can lift rocks.
Lifting rocks.
And yeah, Luke's feet don't move the salt and create the red stuff.
There's this one line. It makes me laugh every time. It's when Luke's like, I failed you, Ben. I failed you. And Adam Driver's like, I bet you are.
He just says, I'm sorry.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an angry kid. He's Kyle Ren.
And then there's this beautiful line where he's like, Kylo Ren says something like, I'll destroy her, the Resistance, and you, and I'll kill the Last Jedi. And he's like, nah, and call back to everything you just said was wrong.
Yeah.
The rebellion is reborn today. The war is just beginning, and I will not be the Last Jedi. Oh,
Hard cut to Rey.
Fucking chills.
Yeah.
She's lifting the rocks.
And Finn's so excited to see her.
Luke disappears. He turns into a pile of clothes.
Oof. He dies.
The troops marching into the cave that is now empty from the Resistance is with like the red streaks. It's an overhead top-down thing, and it's such a fucking cool shot with the shadows.
Hold on, you blaze right through this. I want to talk about this.
I'm really glad you're doubling back on this, Steve.
So Finn sees Rey. It's happy. We go back to Luke and Kylo. They have this big epic battle where Kylo runs at him. It looks like he cuts him in half, and his feet create this like really great, like almost skid. It looks like blood skid in the salt. But he looks up and Luke's fine. Oh, what's this? He's a force projection the whole time, and he goes, "See you around, kid." It disappears, and that's when Kylo knows he's been tricked. What did you think in the moment, like the first time you saw this? Like, what did you think was happening? How did you take that? Because I know what I felt like.
I can't recall.
What do you think?
I just remember in the moment, like, oh, he's not there. Oh, he's force projecting himself. That's so cool. Because again, it explains like how powerful of a Jedi he is to be able to do that. And I remember at the time, some people were like, oh, it's not a power Jedi has. Like, it fucking absolutely is. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Why
Why are we not allowed to introduce new powers for Jedi? They do it in every fucking movie.
Right.
There's a new power a Jedi has. Why is all of a sudden this a problem? But visually, I fucking love this. And then you mentioned it earlier in the movie when Kylo says to Rey, you can't do this; it would kill you.
Yeah,
and so when it does, when Luke does die, like it
makes sense.
It makes sense. I don't necessarily agree with them killing Luke off, but at least they made it make sense in the story. And
Kill it if you have to.
I do
Let
like
the past
that.
Die.
I do like that he gets to die watching two suns on an ocean planet.
I've got that. Yeah. So he's born in, dies under two suns, which is a nice balanced in and out for Luke.
This time
Yeah.
it's wet.
Yes, it's a wet sunrise.
I think when
I don't know.
I think it wasn't like immediately clear to me like what was going on until he does like poke him, and then it cuts back to Luke on the island still. So I'm like, okay, like it makes sense like how he didn't actually get there in time, but he's using a new power, and to me it was like, oh shit, Jedi can do this. This is cool. Like I didn't think like this is dumb, they can't do it. Like I honestly thought like I didn't know they could do that, but I guess it makes sense.
I mean, what is a Force ghost if not an astral projection of yourself, you know?
From the afterlife. But Kylo and Rey see each other again, and there's kind of like there's some longing there.
Oh, you fucked up, Kylo.
But also some like, you bastard. And then they celebrate on the Falcon. They're popping bottles.
She has the Jedi texts.
Poe meets Rey.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that the two of the main characters never meet before this
I like
moment.
that Ryan remembered, because I would not have remembered if they had never met.
I wouldn't have either.
I'm Rey. I know. Like, you know, she's already forming her legend. And I like that she stole all the books. And then oh my God, this is all that. How are we going to build a rebellion from this? We have everything we need. A broken lightsaber, some cool characters, the Falcon.
The spark that will burn down the First Order.
And then we already talked about this and waxed poetically at the beginning, but you know, the beauty of this ending of the Stable Boys, telling the story of Luke Skywalker, the analog for people like Steve and Phil, and then the fact that they're Force sensitive too. And,
that last shot of the boy raising the broomstick like it's a lightsaber looking at the stars, it gets me every time. I fucking love it.
You think they'll ever like expand upon that specifically, or
the kid?
Yeah, just
JJ shat upon it.
But I mean, like they don't have to like do it in Rise. They could have done it like just with like a show.
Well, the whole idea, they could still look at like Stable Boys that maybe are Force sensitive, but the idea that Rey was nobody was kind of the keystone of the arch of this idea, and then they retconned it with the Palpatine shit.
And I just love it so much more that a hero can come from anybody. Like you don't have to come from this royal bloodline from Star Wars or the Emperor. It could be a scavenger from a desert planet. It could be a little stable boy from Canto Bight. You don't need to be someone from a famous family to rise up to the challenge of being a hero and stepping up to the evils of the world. And I think that's such a better message than like, she's Obi-Wan's daughter, or
genetics don't determine your path.
Right.
Like, you can make your own path.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why it's my favorite movie.
Bernie?
The 1% does not need to be the main character all the time. However, it is time for us to perform our medal ceremony, quickly nominate, what does this movie do better than any other movie in the saga? Phil, what are you going to give The Last Jedi?
I think this movie does the best with like most creative use of tech. So the lightsabers, like when he spins it and gets Snoke in the gut. And then when you mentioned how Kylo Ren like force pulls the saber and gets him in the face.
Face fucks him?
Yeah. And then when Holdo light speeds the ship through the other ships, I think it's just like they take
really
such
creative stuff.
Yeah, like just a creative approach to like tech that we know. And that I think like there was definitely a ton of room to play with that stuff in past movies, but they haven't really explored those options yet. So I think this movie does a really good job with just like adding a bit of spice to those things that we know in a fun, creative way.
Absolutely. Mr. Steve.
Well, I've said mine a bunch over the course of this episode. I think this is hands down the best Star Wars movie when it comes to visual storytelling. It looks beautiful, it looks great, but I think the way they film the connection between Kylo Ren and Rey is really well done. I think if they had done it any differently, it would be silly or hokey. And this really kind of focuses on the relationship and the character performances. But then also that whole like crate fight with Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, like the way he's not leaving footprints, but it's cutting specifically to Ren's footprints in a way where like the streaks make it look like he's slashing through somebody, but he's really not. That you don't get that kind of visual storytelling in Star Wars like ever. And that's why I think that's what makes this movie stand out for me specifically compared to the other movies. That's why it's my medal. Kit?
I would have given it best cinematography easily as well, but instead of going with something silly, because I go last like I always do, I also want to say I think this is the the best writing of any Star Wars movie, specifically like one-liners, like quotes, like really powerful lines that Yoda delivers to Luke, that Luke delivers to Rey. And lines like, hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night. That's such a that's an all-timer. That's the kind of line when you write it, you're like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. It's like, I remember somebody asked John Green the question, what's a line as a writer that you knew was a banger as soon as you wrote it? And he stitched this video and there's a line from one of his books where it's something, I don't have to unfortunately paraphrase, but it's like, love is like falling in love is like falling asleep. It happens gradually and then all at once. And he's like, I knew when that's one of them things.
That's a good line.
I read what I just wrote and was like, oh, that's a banger, And that's one of those lines too. The sunlight line is like that. So I'm going to give it best writing. I know that's going to be controversial to a lot of people, but let's rank The Last Jedi. Just to remind people where we're at. We, from best to worst, have Empire Strikes Back, Force Awakens, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones. That's from best to worst. So where does Last Jedi go into this mix? Ooh. I'm going to come out swinging.
Oh, here he is. Here he goes.
In a way that I know is not going to stick. But just to let you guys know where I'm at and let you two fuckers argue about it, I would put Last Jedi at number 1. I would put it above Empire.
Sure.
I don't think I'll be able to get that off, but where are you at, Phil?
I can't put this above Empire, but I think it deserves the number 2 place.
We're going to put it right below Empire,
Ooh,
right above
below number 2.
I do think so. Yeah, because
wow, I'm shocked.
Because and I mean, like, if you had asked me this a few years ago, I wouldn't have put it that high. But after watching these back to back, like week after week, the way we have, I think the points you've made, I think, are really good. And I would be more willing to rewatch this one sooner than the other ones besides Empire. So I think this one really does, and I know it's a controversial take, and I'm fine with that. I don't really care what the fans think.
Yeah, having two Disney era Star Wars films in the top 3.
There's going to be at least one more.
I know, that's what's so funny.
Yeah.
I honestly think there's 3 Disney era films in the top 5.
I don't think the Disney era films are necessarily bad.
Clearly not. Clearly not.
So I'm okay with it. And if people want to disagree, that's fine.
Fight me.
Yeah, but I honestly think we put The Force Awakens above A New Hope for the reasons we said. I think The Last Jedi takes swings that work for me, worked for you,
work for you,
in a way that I appreciate and I think will long-term age well. Mm-hmm. So
I put it at 1. Phil's going 2. Yeah. Where are you at, Steve?
Oh, man. Gosh, see, I was fully expecting going in. I fully expected Kit to come out swinging with number 1.
Sure.
Yeah, I knew that was happening. I thought Phil would put this at around 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. So putting it at 2 is really shocking.
You thought he would put Revenge of the Sith?
I don't think The Force Awakens is a better movie than this one. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, we're arbitrarily ranking things we fucking love.
Sure. Sure.
I'd say 3/4 of these movies, at least you and I fucking love.
Ultimately, yeah. I'll simplify for you. Like Phil just said it. The simple way to look at this. We already agreed Force Awakens controversially is better than New Hope. Mm-hmm. And so do you think Last Jedi is better or worse than A Force Awakens?
I do.
You think it's better?
I do.
So that would mean you agree with Phil that it should at least be at 2.
Yeah.
I think to boil it down like that in a very simple way, I can't put it below The Force Awakens. So therefore it needs to be at 2.
I think I am going to land with Phil at number 2 because I love this movie to death. And the problem I was having when Phil said that was I was kind of thinking of putting it at number 2 personally, but I was wondering should I put it at number 1? Because I love this movie, but I was is it my nostalgia talking for not wanting it to get in front of Empire? What's keeping me from putting this in front of Empire? And I do think in the long run, I think this movie's trying to do more brave and bold things. It's taking wild swings. I do think there are there's a pretty big section of the movie that I think keeps it from. Because I think Empire is perfect.
Yeah.
Empire to me is a great, perfect movie. It's not taking swings.
No!
I love it. I love it.
I like how you knew what I meant.
Yep.
If I can be a condescending prick for a
Please
second,
be one.
which I know is so
What's new, kid? No.
which I know is so unlike me. I do think, again, if I'm going to go full condescending prick, I do think you actually think this movie's better than Empire, but there's something inside you that just recoils, like bile rises at the idea of putting the Disney movie above the Empire and being able to walk into a con with your heads held high.
Hey, I don't care about walking into a con.
I don't care about a con. 2, this movie doesn't make me feel the way that I felt the majority of my life watching Empire. I know it does for you, but it doesn't make me feel that way.
Okay.
Like the way Empire made me feel and continue to makes me feel. This movie does not have that. This is great. Like I love this. And it does make me feel, but it doesn't make me feel like
puppets at Canto Bite.
Oh, there's some puppets in Canto Bite.
But
I appreciate a puppet.
so some more puppets.
Like,
you know,
if drunk, horny coin slot guy was a puppet, not a CGI goblin from Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Oh, I would have 10 points more to this movie.
to Gryffindor.
To Gryffindor.
So let's do it. We're going to lock in Empire at number 1, The Last Jedi at number 2, and then the rest. So that's where our Streaming Things official ranking is at so far.
Damn, I can't wait for the comments.
Yeah, it's going to be lovely. It's going to be lovely. You can join the Discord by joining the Patreon. Look forward to our coverage of The Boys and House of the Dragon dropping soon. But first, more streaming Star Wars. We're going to do Solo and then end this series with Rogue One. Hope you like the Fallout coverage we did. Check that out if you haven't yet. Let's end this episode, because we're out of time, by figuring out our Batman Star Wars Mad Libs story we created.
Yes, I can't wait.
Steve, drop it on us.
All right, this week's Mad Libs, your lightsaber and you. You ready to hear what you guys created?
Let's do it, man.
And your lightsaber, Batman, and you. All Jedi Knights must bataranging their lightsaber. Start with the dark hilt. Be sure it looks really cowled. Then jokingly insert your kyber crystal and emitter matrix. But be careful, or your lightsaber could explode and riddle everyone around you. Lightsabers come in every color, including black. In fact,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well, was it Darksaber does that?
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. In fact, that's the color Harley Quinn has. Of course, a lightsaber is used for combat, but it can also be used to abandon blaster bolts, sometimes stealthily reflecting them back at your thugs. A lightsaber can also be used to grappling hook through anything from rich tauntaun bellies to blaster doors. Once you master your lightsaber, you will become an unstoppable Batmobile and strike handsome fear into your foes. As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said about the lightsaber, not as clumsy or random as a blaster, an elegant weapon for a more bat-like age. And thus concludes your lightsaber, Batman, and you.
We'll be back to dicks and boobies next week.
Yeah, that is the worst story we've ever created.
I keep telling you guys.
Hey, like The Last Jedi, we took a swing.
Okay. You
But we ended up making the Attack of the Clones
Yeah.
of Mad Libs. Thank you guys for listening. We love you so much. That's all the time we have for right now. We've got to go return some videotapes. My name is Kit.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Streaming Things, Streaming Star Wars.
Let the past die.
Happy streaming.